2 minutes left exactly on our big deals auction, and it's Coles Resort, just north of, about 12 miles north of Bemidji. Coles, beautiful. It's been around since 1952, and this is a $2,200 value. Right now, the current bid is at $800. This is for one. I don't one. Ping pong and so much more, inflatable water toys. They have a water park, private fire pit, and firewood included with every cabin.
I bet they could find some jarts out there.
Oh, I bet they could, or you bring your own.
There you go.
Also, they're on a chain of lakes, and they have 14 rental boats.
1,300 is still
it's crazy.
$2,500 value.
Yeah, right now, if somebody's to get it right now, it's a 64% savings.
Come on,
you're saving $1,400. But bidding goes till 5. Go to WDAYradionow.com or AM1100theflag.com. Click on the big deals tab, and then.
We are going to ask a lot of the questions that we've heard our listeners ask us.
Sure.
Or points that they have made, concerns that we know that they have. And we're going to give the candidates a chance to mix it up a little bit tonight, too, by saying, okay, I want you to tell me more about this thing because that's not what I've heard you say before.
Sure.
And now it sounds like you're saying something different. And then we'll have a chance at the end for each of the candidates to say, here's how I'm different than that guy or that woman. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of cut those fine edges where we say, okay, that candidate kind of seems like that person, but what's different about them?
So will there be an opportunity, like if one candidate brings up another candidate's name, that they'll have a chance to come back and?
Yes, that's the whole kind of challenge piece of it.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can have two candidates that kind of start owning the clock by going back and forth. So we're going to give a chance to ask a question, respond, then we're going to move along.
Awesome.
So there'll be a little bit of that, but you don't want to have two people fighting the whole night either.
We have Park Board member Aaron Hill, Native American artist Anna Johnson, former Cass County Commissioner Chad Peterson, Technical Solutions Specialist Derek Arneson, but I don't believe he's in tonight's debate. Window tint petitioner backer Jeremy Schaefer, who constantly likes to bring up my name at the Fargo City Commission meetings. It's the Jay Thomas Show. It's hilarious.
What have you done to him?
No, nothing. He's just
in a good way?
He'll in a good way.
Heard it on the Jay Thomas Show.
Yeah, he goes, on the Jay Thomas Show. This is what they were. It's like turn on. It's like. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that.
Kidding.
Invoking your name.
Yeah. Fargo Liquor Control Board member Scott Brecky and also Fargo School Board member Nikki Gullickson and former City Commissioner Tony Garrigan. Tony will not be here. He's working in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I know there's been concern about that, and Tony's addressed that. If he gets this, he's done. He will be, because he does own a home here. So if he gets the commission seat, then he's done in Hawaii. He will be in Fargo.
Yep, that's the story. Yeah, you're right. Derek and Tony will not be here tonight.
Correct.
Had conflicts, and so that happens.
Yeah.
They got lives too.
They've got jobs, yeah.
Yep.
So, Steve, I don't really have a dog in this fight. I mean, I pay taxes in Fargo and all that. I come spend my money here at work here, but I'm a West Fargo resident.
Oh, boy, do you ever pay your taxes, even if you don't live here.
Exactly.
We get you one way or the other.
You, on the other hand, are a Fargo resident.
Correct.
And what are you looking for in candidates?
No.
I mean, this is going to change Fargo, or it could change Fargo in big ways.
Could have a mayor and two new commissioners.
Well, we do for sure. You're going to have a mayor. For sure, you're going to have new commissioners.
Yeah.
It could just change up the whole, and now play.
Could have three new commissioners.
Well, that could be that, and also, and I think this thing's got a good chance of passing if they get the signatures.
Came up on the show.
It came up on the show again today, and so did the calls. Could go to a award system. If that happens, that's even more commissioners added to the city.
That's right, 2 more.
So, so it could be 5 down the road.
Yeah, Mahoney says it would add $500,000 maybe.
A lot of people are fighting back on that, saying, no, I'm not buying those numbers.
That seems high to me.
It does seem high. That almost feels, to me, that almost seems like fear-mongering.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know why. I mean, I don't know if he's got really going to have any skin in the game because he's no longer.
Right, it doesn't matter to him. I don't know. I tend to listen to people that don't have skin in the game anymore, though.
Well,
and if they say, look, I don't know, unless it's something where, it's been, they've had some background in the issue where it's going to make them look better if something else happens. I guess I can see any of that happening. But, yeah, it just in light of the fact that I'm going to moderate for all these good folks here in a few minutes, I'll probably kind of stay away from what I want to see, Jay. But here's what I'm really interested to hear tonight.
What are you interested in hearing?
I want to hear people tell me very clearly what they think the problems in Fargo are. I've heard some answers in some of these debates where the question is, what's the biggest problem facing Fargo and what do you think you should do about it? And it's like,
Yeah, if you get a
like it shouldn't take you very long.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we have to rip on Fargo. There's a lot of good stuff here.
Oh, of course, sir.
But you have to be able to say, here are the things that we need to improve, and here's how I will make that happen. And I want people to give us answers that show that they understand the situation they're talking about, and then that they have a way to fix it. What I don't want to hear as a taxpayer, and maybe as a moderator too, is, well, we need to get rid of special assessments. Okay.
Yeah.
We'd all like that. How are you going to do that?
No.
Because all you're doing is shifting the burden of payment for something to somebody else.
Well, it's the same thing with affordable housing. We need affordable housing. Okay. And how are you going to tackle that affordable housing?
Yeah. And come out and say, if the rich people in Fargo, if we have another Mom Donnie on our hands, say all the rich people have to just pay a lot more, that's fine. For purposes of tonight's conversation, I just want to hear you say what your plan to fix it is in a way that we can understand, because government is too complicated for most of us to understand. We want people that come in and give us easy to understand. We get it, the problems are complex, but let us know that you've got a plan to at least tackle the problem. Here's where we start, and this a couple things we can do early on to maybe make some headway in this battle. I think that's, people want to know that the people that they're voting for are wired in such a way that they feel like they can get something done and they can explain it. And we talk about this in government all the time, Jay. Even the White House, I think there's a lot of times when I'm like, what is Donald Trump really setting out to do? Because I don't understand the message coming from him. No. I want our city commission candidates to be able to be very understandable as far as how they do things.
Yeah, people want, when they're told something, they want the instructions. Are you okay, great, affordable. Okay, how are you going to do it? Well, no, not well. How are you going to do it? No bouncing around the questions. How are you going to fix? We got to do so. We got to fix the homeless problem.
Right.
Oh, well, okay. So what are your ideas? And I hate here. Well, I'm going to put a committee together. No, because anytime you hear the word "we're putting a committee," that's where stuff goes to die.
And we're going to write big checks.
Exactly.
That's what happens.
And you're going to hear perception. Well, that's the perception. Well, perception is reality. That's another one that drives me nuts. Well, if you bring up something like, okay, crime downtown, homeless stuff. Well, that's just the perception. That's not reality. That's not an answer. Perception for people is reality. If that's what they perceive, that's what they believe. How are you going to fix this?
That's right. We just want to know tonight, by the end of this debate, we hope that everybody in Fargo who is listening will be able to say, I understand what Anna Johnson is all about. I understand what Aaron Hill is all about. I understand what Nikki Gullickson is all about. Who they see the people of Fargo to be. Like, what do you think people's worries are? What are they proud of here in this town? Do they struggle with things? We want to know that they understand the constituency and that they bring solutions to the table. You talked about the homeless thing for a while. Everybody was talking about, well, we have a homeless. Okay, good. What are you going to do? Well, I don't know. We're just going to have to figure. And finally, somebody said, let's move the DEC out of downtown. And everybody just stood around like, oh my gosh, somebody actually brought an idea.
They have an idea.
And like, whoa, hang on now. We're not used to that. So let's find people that have been able to think critically about situations and what's happening and provide options that you can say, that maybe makes some sense.
I again, no dog in a fight for me, but I want to hear, because we've got election coming up in West Fargo. We got candidates. And I don't know if you are, Steve, but I am following Spencer Pratt like never before. You know, I remember him from the
LA.
Reality show The Hills.
Yeah, right.
Watching on there. Before that, it was like Laguna Beach.
Yep.
But what he is accomplishing, I mean, he's telling it like it is, and he's got solutions. There's no hemming or hawing or, well, if I get in office, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a committee together. We're going to work. No, this is how I'm going to do it.
Yep.
That's what you want from candidates.
And we understand that, you know, more than one thing can be true at the same time. None of these problems are going to be easy to solve.
Not going to fix overnight.
Ones. No, we'd all love more cops on the street, but that costs money. Where are you going to get it? Okay, well, let's see. If someone comes tonight and says, we need 20 more cops on the street, and here's how we're going to do that. We're going to cut this, that. We're going to get rid of 4 people out of this department. Now I'm saying, okay, this person has done their homework, and they're not afraid to get out there and make a decision and put themselves on the line, because when you do that, you're going to get criticized. But like you, Jay, I don't want to hear people that just say, well, you know, we're going to have to study that. We're going to have to fix that. You know, we're going to have to understand that it's going to take a while or whatever. We all understand that. Things need to happen, but you got to show us that you've done your homework and that you can bring answers other than something needs to change and I'm the one to fix it. Okay, we're going to need more than that.
Debates from 5 to 7 tonight. And again, the candidates will be Scott Brecky, Nikki Gullickson, Aaron Hill, Anna Johnson, Chad Peterson, and Jeremy Schaefer, Tony Gehrig, and also Derica Arneson could not make the debate. It's not that they didn't want to be here. They wanted to be here, but because of life and work, they couldn't make this debate. Then afterwards, Steve and I will get together and we'll take phone calls and get people's thoughts on it.
Yeah, and my role in that conversation is going to be to summarize. What did we just hear? What was the statement that someone came out and took that position, made that hard choice, said, hey, this is going to be messy. You're not going to like the answer, but I'm going to give you the answer because it's the one you need to hear. Those are the things that we're going to be looking for tonight.
Real quick, heads up, there is 10 minutes left in our big deals auction, and it just bounced up to $900. So still jump in or get your bid in. $2,200 value. That is a 1-week stay in the month of June. Beautiful 2-bedroom cabin at this stunning Coles Resort, about 12 miles north of Bemidji. Beautiful. You get a ton of amenities with cabins, so you can take the family up there or grab your buddies and go up there, do a gals week together, a guys week together, and just enjoy Big Turtle Lake. And there's a ton of amenities that come with this indoor pool, beautiful sandy clean beach, non-motorized watercraft for you to use. This is all included with your stay. Woodlands Putt-Putt 9-hole golf course. They also have private fire pit, and firewood is included with every cabin, so you can sit out on the cabin porch and just enjoy the fire. And also, they're on a chain of lakes, so they've got 14 rental boats, and there's tons of other amenities. So Coles Resort, Big Turtle Drive, northeast Bemidji, Minnesota. Place is gorgeous. All right. I had another question I was going to ask you. Now I can't remember what it was.
Well, I'll tell you an issue that I'm interested to hear some conversation on tonight, Jay, is this whole idea of tax incentives for developers. TIFs, Renaissance Zone, pilots, there's a bunch of them.
Yep.
They all operate a little differently, but basically it says you don't have to write a check for property taxes, or if you do, your check goes to a certain cause within the city. And so I want to hear people say, here are the ones I'm in favor of, here are the ones I don't like, and if you don't like them, why is this one better than the other one? And what do you say then to people who, you and I have had this argument many times. You and I see this issue differently. And we've had good back and forth on that. So it's always good to hear, okay, well, if you don't like this, then why? And why do you think that this is a good idea if you do think it is? And why can this work when we're worried about cutting taxes in other areas and trying to maximize what comes into the city? How do you give that money away for that length of time?
Special assessments is another one with the developers, and that is that is a hot button issue for people. They get these shocks that they were told the specials are this much, and next thing you know, we were wrong on our calculation, so it's another $30,000. And it's going to be interesting. Alex and I last weekend got in the car, drove down to Horace, go check out Heritage Homes is building that beautiful Sunset Valley. We're figuring out how we can move into the promenade home.
Those are sweet.
That's gorgeous. But the crazy thing is, they tell you up front, these are the specials, under $20,000. Yeah, but there's no buts. That's it. Well, how are you doing that? Because we as the developer took care of the specials or took care of the infrastructure ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got one developer, Steve, that can do this, people are going to start going, wait a minute here.
Yeah.
How come Heritage Homes can do this? It's just like when and you had him on the show, is Mike Mark from Bruhala.
Yeah.
When they talked about if the convention center goes there, they're not taking any tax breaks. They're doing it all themselves. It's like, well, wait a minute. How is this? How can they do it? So things could get interesting. And now that you've got developers or development companies that are starting now to say, hey, we can do this without needing help from the city.
Yeah, and on the Bruhala plan, my understanding is that what Bjornstad and those guys are talking about is they would pay the taxes, but it would go into a fund to take care of the expenses in that area.
They're setting up
so
almost
you're
their own
earmarking it. Yeah, setting it almost
themselves
that way. Yeah. But that's different than we're not going to write a check for any taxes for 15 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So those plans are interesting. That's a great debate too. We've got that in the questions for tonight about downtown, Bruhala.
Yeah, I figured
where do you land on that one?
Shields Arena. 6 minutes away. Debate. Both here on 970 WDAY, AM 1100 The Flag. By the way, the current bid now is $950.
Okay.
On Kohl's.
This always happens, by the way.
They're just waiting till last. But you got 5 minutes and 50 seconds left on this auction to get your bid in.
If you pay $1,500, you're getting a monster deal.
Exactly. All right, you and I, my friend, will hook up just after the debate at 7. All right, the big Fargo City Commission candidate debate. That's next on 970 WDAY 93.1 FM. Moderated by Steve Hallstrom and Bonnie Amistadi.
Good evening and welcome. Tonight we are proud to host our Fargo City Commission candidate debate on our Fieldstone Group radio stations and video platforms. I'm Steve Halsham, and whether you're listening to us tonight on radio, mobile app, smart speaker, or watching on YouTube, Facebook, and our station websites, we're thankful for your time. Glad we didn't try to do this last night. Nobody would have come inside with a beautiful evening, but it's 50-mile-an-hour winds today, so let's go inside and have a debate. Since it's exactly 5 p.m., I'll say you're listening to WZFG Dilworth and WDAY Fargo Moorhead, West Fargo, USA. Fargo's a city on the move, growing fast with real decisions ahead about infrastructure, development, public safety, taxes, and quality of life for every resident. Tonight, 6 candidates who want to help lead that city are here to talk directly to you. We want to note that Derek Arneson and Tony Gehrig were invited to participate and were unable to join us tonight. The 6 candidates here are Scott Brecky, Nikki Gullickson, Aaron Hill, Anna Johnson, Chad Peterson, and Jeremy Schaefer, and we thank all 6 of them for being here tonight. My colleague Bonnie Amistadi, host of Bonnie and Friends on WDAY Radio, will walk you through the format. Bonnie?
All righty. Welcome to our Fargo City Commission candidate debate. Good evening to all of you listening and watching, and our candidates who have given their time here tonight. And so here's how it's going to work. We have 6 candidates with us. There's 2 open seats on the Fargo City Commission and no incumbents here tonight. Each candidate begins with a 30-second opening statement. After that, Steve and I will ask a series of questions with the candidates. You'll take turns answering first, and each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond to every question. And where it gets interesting, after each question is answered, any candidate may challenge something another candidate says. You will have 15 seconds to make that challenge, and then the candidate who's being challenged has 30 seconds to respond. And that will be the end of the challenge. We'll move to the next question so that no 2 candidates dominate the clock. Each candidate gets 2 challenges for the entire evening, so use them wisely. And Steve and I may ask brief clarifying questions so that we understand your answer, but we will not challenge what any candidate has said. It's not our job tonight. Our job is to make sure that each and every one of you gets heard. And we'll take a short break right around 6 o'clock. Near the end of the evening, each candidate has the optional opportunity to draw a distinction between themselves and one or more of the other candidates. 60 seconds for that. We'll close with 30 seconds statement from each one of you. And our timer tonight will keep you honest. You will hear a signal. That means you have 10 seconds remaining. And when time is called, we ask that you wrap up your thoughts. And we've got a lot of ground to cover. Want to be fair, of course, to everyone. So we'll introduce our candidates and get started. We go in alphabetical order for opening statements. So Scott Brecky, you are up first. 30 seconds to tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me here. Scott Brecky. I'm proud to say that I'm a 3rd generation of Fargo. My family's lived here for many years. I have 26 years of big box retail experience. I am currently in sales for stone industry countertops. I am with my wife for the last 27 years. I have a 22-year-old daughter that recently graduated from NDSU and a 17-year-old daughter.
Gullickson, tell us about yourself.
Thank you. I've been here for over 35 years. I'm married. I have 3 children. I have 1 in college, 1 graduating from high school this year, and 1 graduating in 2 years. I've worked here, businesses large and small and family-owned, also some entrepreneurial adventures, and I think some of the talents in my background will help me serve at the city level. I'm also in the 2nd term at Fargo School Board, and much of the work that we do is very parallel to what commissioners do. Thank you.
Aaron Hill, who are you?
My name is Aaron Hill. I was elected to the Fargo Park Board 4 years ago. I am a licensed real estate agent. I focus on commercial real estate. I live in North Fargo with my wife and 3 children. In addition to being on the Park Board, I'm also on the Xcel Energy Advisory Board. I'm on the Board of Governors for the YMCA. I'm helping out Great Plains Food Bank with their capital campaign. I volunteer at the Fargo Theater, and in my free time I help coach my kids' activities, and we like to go out and camp and do other things like that. I was born in Minot and went to high school at Shanley, college at St. John's.
Anna Johnson, introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers, please.
All right, my name is Anna Johnson. Most of you know me as the artist. I do a lot of murals in town. I hope to continue to do that. I was also a truck driver. I come from Bismarck originally. That's where I was grew up, and so I've been a North Dakotan my whole life, and I'm not a career politician, and I hope to bring people's voices first.
Chad Peterson, tell us about yourself.
My name is Chad Peterson. I'm a Ben Franklin, I'm a Longfellow Lion, Ben Franklin Wildcat, Fargo North Spartan, NDSU Bison. Been here my whole life. Over those years, I've owned multiple businesses, background in architecture and engineering. Owned one of the largest architecture engineering companies in the Midwest. I had multifamily properties, commercial properties, retail businesses. So my retail and private business sector experience is back for decades. As a public servant, I volunteered prior to my election to 3 terms as the county commissioner. Volunteered on multiple boards, committees, commissions, panels, nonprofits. Blessed beyond words to have leadership positions both locally, statewide, and nationally. And that's a bit about me, and there we go. Thanks.
All right, and Jeremy Schaefer.
My name is Jeremy Schaefer. I'm 29 years old, newly married as of October. We got our first baby coming next month as well, too. I've worked about 10 years in manufacturing, shipping, and logistics, recently transitioned into doing actually window tint sales. Some people know me as a guy that ran the window tint petition over the last year, and as of recent, I've been hosting free karaoke downtown to interact with the younger voters, and there we go.
You guys ready?
Very good.
All right, Scott, we're going to go with you on the first question. Why did you choose to run, and what do you see as the biggest issue facing Fargo?
Yeah, so over my course of my career, this was always something that I would be interested in doing, being a servant leader in the community. I've always been involved in some type of a 501c3 and donating my time to the community. I've worked with the Boys and Girls Club. I've been a volunteer in the Fargo Liquor Board. I strongly believe to be relevant in the community. During this last 3 years of being on the Liquor Board and being more vigilant on what's going on in our current government, this position that I'm currently in is the right time professionally and personally for me to take on this position.
All right. Nikki Gullickson, why did you choose to run, and what do you see as the biggest issue facing Fargo?
I chose to run because we have a few pressing issues that are kind of high. The biggest one that I'm going to put them together. It's our homeless, mental health, and addiction, because those areas often overlap. And I think there's more we can do. We have some programs that are ongoing. I've been researching things that are taking place in other cities, so I think there are some things that we can do with that. And that's probably the first and foremost. Second is safety. Our fire, our police, our safety personnel. We really need to support them, back them, make sure they're fully staffed and that they have all the proper equipment and training that they need.
All right. Aaron Hill, why did you choose to run? What do you see as the biggest issue facing Fargo?
So service is in my DNA. It's just how I'm wired. I am most fulfilled when I am in service to others. As I'd mentioned earlier, I got elected to the park board 4 years ago, so my term is up in June. So in deciding what I was going to do this June, I looked at all the work that I'd accomplished on the park board at the park district. It was a little bit of a rocky start when I got elected. We had some big projects to complete, and now I feel like the park district is in a great place, and so I'm looking at the city commission as sort of the next opportunity to affect some positive change in the city of Fargo. I think one of the biggest issues is, and it's also one of the biggest opportunities, is the growth. You know, we're not a small town anymore. I think that's a good thing. The community is growing. It's exciting, new businesses, new things, and I think we need to sort of change our government to behave more like a larger city, and that's why I'm running for city commission.
All right, Anna Johnson, tell our listeners and viewers why you chose to run and what do you see as the biggest issue facing Fargo?
Well, first, third time's the charm. I've tried this 3 times now, so let's go. I'm passionate about it because I'm the vice chair of the Arts and Culture Commission. I was on the Native American Commission, and I saw how the sausage was made, so to speak, and it really made me want to get involved because it's not 20 people in the background doing this work. It's only a couple people, and I think representation matters so much in what we're talking about that every voice needs to be heard, and that's why I got involved. Why I got involved this time is because, like everybody else, I watch the news, I see the divisiveness with the commission, and I really want to bring change to that. I think our city staff needs to be supported better. I think that they're vital to what we do as a city. Without them, we don't run, and I think that's one of the #1 priorities I have. The other thing is the biggest issue we always talk about is housing and the workforce. Housing is always going to be an issue, and we're going to continue to grow, and how do we make that work for us?
All right, Chad Peterson next. Why did you choose to run? What do you see as the biggest issue facing Fargo?
Volunteerism is in the Peterson blood. It comes from my grandparents and my grandparents' parents, all the way through my parents as well. It was expected of my brother and I that we volunteer and participate, and that's what led my brother into military, myself into all the boards, panels, committees, commissions, and nonprofits. You need to be a servant leader. That then led into my 3-year term, or 3 terms as a county commissioner for 12 years. From that, I was pushed into this. This wasn't on the radar for me in the past. It came upon me as a bunch of people giving me phone calls, texts, emails, encouraging me to go forth, and said, I think you can do some good things for the city. I think you can carry forth with what you did at the county commission and bring that into Fargo City Hall. And I think that's a good message for me to carry forward. So volunteerism's in the blood, and I figured this would be a good way to serve. A. B. One of the most important things to me right now is the fiscal transparency. It doesn't take a whole lot of rocket scientists to figure out where we are fiscally in the city of Fargo, and what I did at the county courthouse, I'd replicate at City Hall, and I think I can bring transparency and good things forward for the Fargo City Hall.
All right, and Jeremy Schaefer, why did you choose to run, and what do you see as the biggest issue facing Fargo?
So over this last year, as I said, I was running the petition, and reasoning behind that is, not a lot of people know in North Dakota you're not actually allowed a medical exemption for darker window tint. I was trying to get that because I have astigmatism. Having the darker tint, allows me to see better so that my eyesight's not so messed up. So that's just context for that. While I was doing it, I had lots of conversations with people, and people willing to just come talk to me, bring up other stuff aside from what window tint was or anything car related. And I thought, well, if people are willing to just come talk to me, and I like being out here and having these conversations, let's go ahead and move that up to the next level. So I did try to make a run for the House state legislation. I didn't get the endorsement, so I was like, well, I still want to do something big. I don't want to give up on it, and I'm young, I'm fresh, got a lot of energy, so let's go ahead and do something. And really one of my core priorities is something that I see as being large is having citizen engagement. So not even just in the campaign season of having conversations with people, but even after that's done, for the voter to come talk to us and us go talk to the voter. Because if we're going to say we're going to do something in the commission, having people pay attention holds you accountable.
Okay. Anybody want to challenge anything that's been said so far in our first round of comments here? All right. Question number 2, and Nikki, you'll go first on this one. The city of Fargo is in debt. The numbers show somewhere between $750 million and $1.3 billion. How do you propose getting the city out of debt?
Well, one big thing that is coming this summer is a payment for the diversion, and that's going to help us with $41 million right there. So that is great. However, we need to keep that going. And as you know, I'm coming from the school board. We've done a good job of reducing some debt there. And I appreciated the way that Dr. Steiner did it. I think I could bring some of that to the city, and I think we could carve off some more. We also need to look at how we're using TIFs or incentives and different pieces like that. They are a tool. They are not a guarantee. Some businesses or developers need to have that. Some do not. So I think we can be more maybe judicious with how we use those.
Okay. Thank you, Nikki. Next up, Aaron, same question for you.
So in a growing city like Fargo, I think debt is a part of the growth mechanism. So I don't think it's necessarily how do we eliminate debt, or at least I'm not aware of any community our size that's growing as fast as we are that doesn't carry some sort of debt. Now, does work need to be done? Absolutely. And as others have said, our cash reserves, we got downgraded by Moody's because they want to see 25% cash reserves. We're hanging right around 20 instead of 25%. So do we need to work on that? Yes. Is it catastrophic? No. We've had our budget issues at the Park District, and what seems to work really well is you're having your leadership bring all of your staff together. If you can have the staff sit at the table and look at, okay, where are opportunities for revenue to come in, and where are opportunities to cut expenses. And if we have everybody in the boat rowing in the same direction, that really helps us as commissioners to be able to basically say yes or no. Thank you.
Anna.
Well, like everybody, we've been talking about fiscal transparency, really. And I think the most important thing is some of the things we've been talking about right now, like the communications department, let's look at that. That's a huge budget. There's a lot of that in the city budget that could be looked at that people are talking about right now. And I think that that's the most important part, is listening to what people think is the most important part. I am just one person for the voice of a city. Just like the rest of these people next to me, we're only one person for a whole city. And I think that's the important part to look at here is also that, like Aaron's saying, our budget is not always going to be balanced. We are going to have to carry some debt. And that stuff is infrastructure. It's not just random debt that we're carrying like a business would.
Thank you. Chad.
Debt's important to acknowledge, but it's more important in my mind to acknowledge rate of growth and asset allocation. So what we did at the county, the main message there would be neither lead nor lag the market when it came to FTEs, as an example. We wound up at the county chasing, and this is particularly in law enforcement, we wound up chasing the salary increases from downtown. We all do the same things. Everyone who lives in Fargo also lives in Cass County. We all do the same services, infrastructure, law enforcement, tax collection. We wound up following the city of Fargo as they progressively increased salaries to the point where it set the rest of us, not just us in Cass County, but our friends across the river in Moorhead behind. Asset allocation. We spent $2.2 million building a brand new law enforcement center. The Cass County Sheriff's Department is the largest law enforcement center, the largest law enforcement agency in the state of North Dakota. 2 years later, the Fargo Police Department allocated $4 million in cash on a rental property for their new law enforcement center. We do the same things, dollars substantively different between the two things. I think it's incredibly important to have someone in leadership that's able to understand those things and dial things down accordingly.
So you're saying there's an opportunity to avoid some duplication of services?
There's that too, but this is primarily just straight asset allocation. Look what we did at the county courthouse in my 12 years, doing the same mission they had in Fargo. We did the exact same thing, kept our citizens safe, so for substantively less dollars.
All right. Thank you, Chad. Jeremy.
So when you're looking at the budget, like you said, what the numbers were, if you took out what the actual special assessment amount was, that's where it would be at the $750-ish million that you had mentioned. So that's a massive amount that's in there. I propose what would be helpful to get rid of that debt is the end of special assessments. Special assessments happens when you have brand new construction, and if it goes at a higher pace than what the city can actually keep up with it. The city essentially takes out a loan, we'll call it that, and it puts that back onto the homeowner, whoever is within that area. So I think of the budget, think of it running like a business. When you have a business, before you look to expand and take on other expenses by growing, you make sure what you currently have is humming and doing well. So that would mean what we currently already have for that infrastructure, or not really pour money, but use the money that's already allocated within the budget, put it into that before you allow any additional outside growth. We still want to grow, but you don't want to do it irresponsibly.
Okay, thank you. Anyone wish to challenge anything that's been said here so far in this round of questions?
Scott has to
got
go.
15 seconds.
No, he
hasn't gone yet.
We need his response first.
Pardon me. Oh,
Start with Nancy.
excuse me. Yep. Thank you, Scott. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They were close.
I apologize.
I don't have any rebuttals. I do have additions, if that's okay, or do you just want rebuttals?
We're looking for challenges on this one.
Yeah.
If you want to challenge something someone said, that I think what you said was incorrect, or I think that you're off on that, that's what the challenge is for.
Well,
So,
maybe I will take that, because Anna had alluded to our communications department. If you watch the commission meeting on Monday night, it is only 6 personnel, and the budget was over $2 million, and now it's $485,000, if I have that correct.
Well, can I answer the one question?
The city in debt, yes.
Yeah, the city in debt, and then challenge that as well. But, so, can you repeat the question?
Yes.
I apologize.
The city's in debt. The numbers show somewhere between $750 million and $1.3 billion. How do you propose getting the city out of debt?
Eliminating tax incentives. There is step-by-step as far as, case-by-case basis, but we've obviously given out way more tax incentives than we should, and eliminating specials. It's not just new growth for specials, it's also existing locations. When we go through, citizens should not have to pay, and I know some of these are federal tax, whatever, but you just total tax off your paycheck, tax off 23 cents for every gallon of gas, your tax on your license plates, your property tax that continually goes up, and all these, your sales tax, and every one of those has infrastructure in there. And then when you do the road in front of your street, boom, you're hit with another tax, which adds value to your home, which now you're paying an additional property tax on that. The format is not correct. It does not work in this environment. It needs to go away. Also on budgeting, you look at, let me rebuttal on the.
Yes,
on the
15 seconds.
15 seconds.
Yes.
So the budget right now is under communication. It's on there. You can go online. It's $1.8 million. And it's for 11 people for the current budget for our communications. Why the mayor said it was 400,000 with 3 people, I have no idea. It's clearly online at the budget. So.
Okay, now we need to give Anna a chance to respond.
I was just going to say, do I get to say
Anna, you have
anything?
got, yep, you have 30 seconds
So,
to
yes,
respond to Nikki's comment.
Nikki's right. Like I watched the commission meeting as well, and they are honing it in right now. But Scott's also right in that in our current budget, it does say that right now, 1.8 million for 11 people, but they have toned it down. I think that they're working on it. It doesn't mean it's a perfect thing. Right. And so it was just one example of something that we're working on right now that still needs to be dialed in, along with probably all the consultants we use, because I'm sure you guys would agree with me that there are a lot of good people right here in our town.
Now, Nikki, you have 30 seconds to respond because Scott challenged your interpretation of the numbers on the on what's there in that budget right now for the city communications department.
No, it's fine. It's being worked on, so I'm good.
Okay.
Were there any other challenges? Or we're good to move to the next question? All right, so Aaron, you are first. Housing affordability is a real concern for many here in Fargo. What can be done to make housing more affordable?
It is, and this is a big issue in this election for everybody. I think it starts with our planning department working with our staff, and I think we need to make sure we're partnering with the right agencies in the community. Cass Clay Land Trust is a good one. Partners like that, Builders Association. I think we need to find ways to be able to look at infill as well and look at sort of blighted neighborhoods, blighted areas, and say where are opportunities that we can build different types of homes. And I think that's being worked on through the Land Development Code as well. Are there opportunities for 4plexes, 6plexes, 8plexes, things that are what I consider affordable is less than $200,000. So how can we get people into homes where they can build equity, and not only build equity for themselves, but that also will help keep people in the community. We have such a workforce shortage right now. We're struggling to get people to come here. So this could help us keep people who are already here. Thank you.
Anna, what can be done to make housing more affordable?
Well, housing and development in Fargo are at a crossroads right now because we're growing so rapidly, and that's a good thing, but if we don't address some of the key barriers, then we're going to keep falling behind on affordability and availability. So between the materials and labor and regulatory requirements, the cost of new construction is gone up significantly in recent years, even more so in the last year. And that gets passed directly onto the renters and the buyers, and we need to look at where the city processes and fees are adding unnecessary burdens and reduce that burden without sacrificing safety and quality. And that's just one little thing. And I think that permitting and approval processes can be looked at and streamlined, because when you apply for something, we want it to be quick so that can keep working. The sooner they can keep building, the quicker it happens. And if we don't streamline that, we don't get anything done.
All right, Chad?
Low stable taxes, market-driven solutions, as well as ease in permitting. 3 things I've talked about in prior discussions as well. So low stable taxes, that's a benefit to everyone, not just homeowners. When taxes are low and stable, you can predict your budgets on an ongoing basis year to year. Market-driven solutions. It seems as though whenever developers show up at the city of Fargo, a story I've told in the past is we had one city employee in a leadership position say, I don't want to permit any more houses because every house I permit I have to protect from a flood. That's not positivity. People within the city hall should be saying, what can I do to make your job easier? The easier it is to build a home, the easier it is to afford that home, because the costs are simply passed on to the people who are buying it. Ease in permitting. If I go to other cities, I've been very blessed to work all over the United States, all over North Dakota. There are local municipalities I can pull a building permit with restrictions, but I can get going within 15 minutes. You build at risk until the permitting department has the ability to review plans and approve them holistically. But within 15 minutes, right in West Fargo as an example, I can have a building permit same day and go. Not all the time, but more often than not. We can do that in Fargo. How do I know? Because it's done all over the United States.
All right, Jeremy, what can be done to make housing more affordable?
So the beauty of this is there's multiple solutions for it. I think that's kind of fun. There's not a one cookie cutter answer for this. So like the way I kind of see it, and this is just one of the options that could be there. Again, lowerment of property taxes. That's already what the city can do, and then the elimination of those special assessments. That's for if people already have their house, that's something they care about. That can be transitioned down to people who are renting, who are that landlord or owners of that building. If they don't have to have as much money coming in from their tenants to be able to pay for those things, it can add into that. Second thing we can always run into as well is if there's other neighborhoods that need to be, I don't know, whatever you want to say, revamped or given some more life into, give them some more love, you can go ahead and do that. People move here for, work, school, or a better way of life from wherever they are. And if they want to move here, they're going to be always looking at what's the actual cost of living here. Having people move here, and if they're positively talking about some of these changes that could happen, we'll have more people coming here at the same time too.
All right, thank you. Scott?
Build, baby, build. Build new, build, go back to the older neighborhoods, revitalize those neighborhoods. You got to continue to build. The more that you continue to build, the more jobs you're going to create, the more revenue that you're going to bring in, the more people can afford housing. Not everyone is going to be able to afford a house for, let's say, $600,000, $700,000. But if they're working on that house, if they're plumbing on that house, if they're electrical worker on that house, if they're roofing that house, they're bringing in sales dollars. They're bringing in a paycheck. We need to continue to build. We need to make it easier to build. And in some of the other neighborhoods that are already zoned for multifamily homes, let's create some of those in those areas where it can be $150,000, $200,000 for a home or something like that. But we got to continue to build.
All right. And Nikki, your thoughts on what can be done to make housing more affordable?
Well, my base question is exactly what is affordable housing? Because we keep talking about putting up new buildings and the rent's going to be $1,500 a month. Is that affordable? I mean, for some people it may be. We can get creative with solving this problem. We can flip older properties. We can revamp older apartment buildings, duplexes, all of those types of things. Those are all very real possibilities. But I think we need to figure out exactly where we need to be to serve that market. And I know that there are guidelines, I know that there are charts and all kinds of things, but realistically, we need to look at Fargo, North Dakota, we need to look at the wages, and we need to look and see what truly is affordable so they can invest in those homes and eventually move on to their next home.
Anybody with a challenge? Okay.
All right, next question. And Anna, you'll go first on this one. There's been a big debate on homelessness in Fargo, especially in the downtown area. Does Fargo have a homeless problem? And if so, are we handling it the right way?
That's a really good question. No pressure for me, the first question. Oh, geez. I don't think that, like, in the traditional way that we think of a homeless problem, like, say, in a bigger city, I don't think we have that problem. I think we have something that's a solvable problem with the homelessness. And when we all got our little presentation from the city a week or two ago, when the police chief was talking, one of his biggest things was they're busy on a lot of these calls that he would consider social services. So we're obviously missing something along those lines. If we're just arresting people and turning them back out and arresting them and turning them back out, do we have a homeless problem? I don't think we do. I think it's a solvable thing that we need to get together with our community partners, the city government, our state, and everybody else to solve.
All right, Chad?
We are doing mental health and chemical dependency wrong as a nation, as a state, and as a city. Do we have a homelessness problem? Sure. But the reality of it is the city of Fargo will never have enough money, never have enough employees, regardless of goodwill, regardless of well-intended people. We will never have the ability to solve it. We are a regional center for commerce. We are a regional center for services. People come here that aren't from here, and we're asked to take care of them. And it frankly makes sense because we have good people here. We have Prairie Psych. We have Sanford. And approaching this as a holistic solution is the answer. 6 years ago, I sat in City Hall with the director of DHS, Chris Jones, and said, we are doing social services wrong as a community. We need to reinvent the way we do things. I gave them my ideas at the time. They're not under my purview when I was a county commissioner. They didn't listen to me. But now, Governor Armstrong and the Friends of the Legislature are starting to reinvent. We're changing Southeast Human Services into a regional service center. Yes, that's the way to do it. We start doing things the way we need them now, not the way they were done in 1920. How can we participate in the city of Fargo? We participate as partners. We can't be the guiding light in this because, again, we don't and will never have enough money to do this. The way to do this is relationships built through the state and eventually, hopefully, in Washington, D.C.
All right, Jeremy?
So it's already been decided that the deck's going to be moving out of the downtown, so that helps ease a lot of the people who go downtown and the businesses that are down there. As far as addressing the homelessness that are around there, it's already been said that there's many nonprofits. Fantastic. It only matters if there's actually things that are being done. Conversations with those people having any of their people go out and just honestly chat with anyone that's homeless that's out there, because you can always have all the services, but if they're not actually spoken to, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. And I would fully believe anyone that's doing something out of their actual goodwill and volunteering for something to be done, as Chad basically said too, you can never have enough money, you'll never have enough people to fully employ and have them be sent out there to go take it to the homeless, whereas there's many others who are just willing to volunteer their time instead of being paid for it.
And just so I understand, we do or we don't have a homeless problem? I didn't catch your answer.
Yes, there is.
We do. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Next up, Scott, on this question. And by the way, if anyone would like me to repeat the question, be happy to do that.
I think one of the areas that we should look into is people that are getting assisted living. When you're in assisted living facilities, there's a lot of different rules and regulations that you need to follow. The problem is when you have people that have addiction issues, mental illness, and you break some of those different requirements and rules, and you are forced to have an eviction notice. When you take someone that is already on, let's say, Social Security or disabled, and you are now asked to leave your residence, it makes it very difficult for you to find another place that you can live. So I think it needs to be investigated on how many people we are actually from assisted living that we are making in that challenging effort.
We do or we don't have a homeless problem?
We do.
Okay, thank you. Nikki, you're next on this one.
We do have a homeless problem, but it's not as big, I don't believe, as it's perhaps been put out there. But yes, I do think we have a problem, and we also have people who simply don't want help. That's how they want to live. But this is all tied in again with mental health, could be addiction. I visited with Chief Stefanowitz, I visited with Chief Lorenz, Fire and Police. They incidentally spend a lot of time on things that our social services could actually help out with. So I think this is going to take kind of bringing all of our community services together to work on a solution. We have a team that goes out on the street. They help build those relationships. They have that contact. When they are able to build trust, those people do reach out for help. So we have some good things going, but we need to do more. We can do more, and we can make a difference in this fight.
All right, Aaron, last one on this one. On this question.
We do have an issue, but it's an issue all over the country. We are not unique in this. This is very common, and I look at this as sort of a growing pain. As we become a bigger urban community, this is an issue that comes along with it. And even nationally after COVID, that's been an issue. There's some stats. I believe currently the city is really only participating about 6% of financial resources. At a given night, it's about there's about 1,000 people that fall into that sort of below the poverty line number, but it's really about 40 to 60 individuals that are the most visible ones, and especially with having the engagement center on 4th Street. And I did tour back when we were working with the city on the camping ordinance. I did go tour the camps, and I toured the engagement center. I wanted to look for myself. I wanted to meet the individuals. They are human beings. We need to show compassion and treat them like humans. But also, I think the city needs to play a part. But the city, this can't be the city's problem, and we need partners at the state as well, because it's as Chad kind of mentioned, we have people coming to the community because we have the services here. So we need partners across the state and locally to help figure this out.
Okay. Would anyone like to challenge anything that was just said in that round of questions?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Aaron just a quick question. Do you support the deck? Are you pro or against the deck?
The deck?
Yep.
What do you mean the deck? The deck is closing. Now it's going to be the Resource and Recovery Center.
Yes.
Do I support the endeavor itself?
Do you support the current deck that is being our drug reinforcement center, whatever you want to call it, on First Avenue?
Resource and Recovery Center.
Yep.
Is what it's being named as. I am happy to see it move away from 4th Street. I think the location will be a better spot. I think especially having sort of individuals on 4th Street out in the public and at the Civic Center and some other locations, I think is hurting a lot of our downtown businesses. So I think this will be a better location. The city is fundraising for it right now. So again, the city isn't planning to pay for all of it. It's a 2-year lease. I'm not a big fan of the city leasing property, potentially long-term. I guess I don't know how long I have to rebut, but I just realized
yeah, you're about 5 seconds left.
Okay, sorry. I just realized. So ultimately, I am for the city being involved in being a part of the solution to this issue.
Okay. All right, next question.
All right, Chad, this one's yours for starters. Fargo City Commissioners have been pressured in recent years to support resolutions that take positions on national and international issues. When do you believe it's appropriate for city commissioners to do so?
I believe there's a policy in place that says we are prohibited from involving ourselves in international things like war. I think the only time the city should be taking positions on things like that, items like that, is when it has to do with city operations. One of the things I often talk about, I've said repeatedly in my career, the things that make us feel good do not often make for good governance. I'm going to say that again. The things that make us feel good do not often make for good governance. Involving ourselves in international policy is counterintuitive because regardless of where you stand on any number of these issues, we're local officials. We don't have the information that our friends in DC and the CIA and FBI, all the people who make the substantive decisions on a national and international level have. We should have individual opinions, and there's no reason for a commissioner, a mayor, whoever to express upon anyone else what I believe is such. But the city taking a formal position, again, is counterintuitive because you're basically putting the authority and credibility of the city behind something that, frankly, you don't know anything about. You can have opinion on, and that's fine, but full knowledge, that's naive.
Jeremy?
So more or less same thing as what Chad said. You can have your own opinion, think how you want to think on it, but if as a city, if you're going to essentially follow what a national or international policy or thought process is going, you might as well just call it a trend or a fad. It's going to pass and it won't stick around, and then anyone who sees you doing it, if they're actually well invested, if they see whatever's going on, if they can call, wow, that's bogus, and the city's going to follow it, these people don't actually have a spine. They can't think for themselves. So you don't want to do that. If people ask their elected officials what their opinion is on it, sure, you should have that conversation with them. But as far as bringing it to the city level to say, hey, I don't know, Florida's doing this or Omaha's doing that, just throwing names out there, not to actually call them for anything specifically, you shouldn't just follow suit just because someone else is doing something.
Yeah, I just believe in the city's core values and the infrastructure that we currently have. As far as any other topics of personal belief on any other things that are not city related, doesn't really matter.
Nikki?
And I would have to agree. I don't think the city should take a position on that because we need to respect everybody that's here, and we could have opposing views, and I don't think putting that on City Hall is a good idea.
Aaron?
I don't think the city should take positions on international issues at all. I think the job that we're running for right now it's water, sewer, police, fire, planning, forestry, etc. It doesn't mean we don't care. I understand why groups come to the city because it's a platform, because we are elected as leaders and they want the leaders to come out and take stances on things. But if it doesn't directly affect the city of Fargo, and I'm not saying understandably there might be individuals in our community in the city that are affected by certain things, certain wars, but I do not think the city should take positions on any of that.
All right, and finally, Anna?
Well, as a nonpartisan board, I don't believe that we should be involving ourselves in things that don't have anything to do with us locally. And that is the bottom line and what we're all really saying. But I do think that's important to listen to our community and the voices that do have something to say about these things, and to be open to that as a city, because if we're not willing to listen to our community, then what are we getting elected for?
Any challenges from that question? Everybody said the same thing, I guess. So, all right, we'll go to the next question.
No, I'm just kidding.
Let's see, Jeremy, you'll go first on this question. Police Chief Travis Stefanowicz, congrats to him for the new position, by the way, has said that one big issue he plans to dive into right away is the drug problem in the city. How bad is it, and do you think the harm reduction program and the handing out of needles and syringes is contributing to our drug problem?
He's correct in his approach to wanting to go ahead and handle that. As they call it, the needle exchange program. It's one of them things that sounds really great in theory and for it to be a great idea, but in reality, it's just not doing that. It's more of an enablement than it is an actual, I don't want to call it a cure, but a helping of people that might actually have an issue that's going on with them. So definitely get rid of that, and then anything else from there, if he sees it being more of a problem from getting data from what's going on the streets, go from there after that.
Okay. Thank you. Scott?
If I'm elected, the first motion I would make is to remove the needle exchange program. It does not work. It is a detriment to our community. It's a detriment to the people that live in that surrounding area. As far as the police department, if you look at over the last 4 years, our drug tickets and numbers of people that we're holding accountable for drug use is almost flat. But if you listen to our human services as far as ambulance, medical providers, we are at a 40% increase in drug overdoses and Narcan uses. So we are not currently enforcing our drug problem in town. We are attracting and growing it, and it needs to stop.
Thank you. Nikki?
There are a few things we are not enforcing here in town, to be fair. The needle exchange program, I'm on the fence with it. I need to see local data. When I research nationally, it makes a difference. It keeps people from getting HIV, through needle transmission. It keeps other illnesses at bay, and then when they get those illnesses, then they go in for care. So if we take that away, then we're going to also pay not only for this, well, we're not paying for the exchange program, the needle exchange, but we're going to pay for care because they're going to be on some type of assistance. I don't like seeing the needles around town. I don't think we get back a bunch of what we put out there. I don't want to be enabling people, but I don't have the statistics either of exactly what's going on in Fargo, whether it's helping or not helping. The other thing is when they exchange needles, that's a touch, that's a contact, that's where we can build that relationship and encourage them to seek help and to help them get into homes if that's what we need to do, to help them access services if they're willing. So I'm on the fence. I really want to see local data if it's working here or not.
Okay. Thank you. Aaron?
Yes, we have a drug problem, but like homelessness, so does the nation. You know, we're very similar in that regard. As far as the harm reduction program, similarly, I would want to do more research. I just don't know enough about it right now to make an educated assessment. I think it's well-intentioned. I understand the motivation behind it is to ultimately reduce the burden on the healthcare system. That is what it is designed to do, and I just don't know enough about the research and the data behind it. I think that's one of the things I would for sure be very interested in looking into and sort of determining, is it working, is it not working? Yes, it appears to some, they're going to say it's enabling individuals who are using drugs, so now we're helping them use drugs, and I understand that argument, and there's probably some logic to that, and there might be some evidence that support that, but I'm looking forward to looking into that more. Thank you.
Anna?
You want to give me the question again?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Chief Stefanowicz said that one big issue he plans to dive into right away is the drug problem in the city. How bad is it, and do you think the harm reduction program and the handing out of needles and syringes is contributing to our drug problem?
Yeah, I think we have a pretty bad drug problem. I'm going to go in a different direction with this because I think that the needle exchange program is important. I think it shows that our community, that we do care about the drug problem. Because if we didn't, we would just let them lay on the streets. And like Nikki said, this is a point of contact for us. And I bet you if you talk to the police chief, he wouldn't tell you to get rid of the social services that we need. He'd probably say he needs more people. He needs more services. Only a handful of years ago, we used to have people on the street that used to give these services, and then we rolled that back, and now we have problems. Like, does anybody else see the correlation there? I feel like we're missing something, but it's really just those services that got taken away a long time ago. And so we really just need to double down on that. And the police chief said that that's the most important thing to him, then I believe him.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Chad, you'll have the last answer on this question.
Outsider looking in, if the chief says there's a problem, regardless of what it is. If this is what he wants to focus on right now, we support our police force, support our new leadership, and target that. Regarding the needle exchange, lots of us hear lots of terms, and if we haven't, we should have, things like housing first, needle exchanges, support services. We need to be doing these things holistically. The National Association of Counties has a program called the Stepping Up Initiative. Simplifying that, it's a bed, a buddy, and a job, told to me by a North Carolina commissioner. If we just do things piecemeal, like housing first, again, it makes us feel good. Like I said, feeling good doesn't always result in good governance. We want people to have a home. We want them to be warm. But if we just do that, and that's what actually Southeast Human Services did for a while, they've gone away from that. In that particular case, they wind up pawning off all their furniture so they can buy drugs. That's a real example that happened here in town. If we want to do this, again, we're doing it wrong as a state, as a nation, as a state, and as a city. We need to do things holistically, and there are data-driven policies that we can look to lead and guide us. And we do it as partnerships, city, local, statewide.
Is handing out the needles and syringes contributing to the problem?
As it is being done right now, absolutely. But if it's done correctly, it won't. But we're not doing that. The city shouldn't be involved in that at all right now. It's not our mission.
Thank you for helping us understand your position on that.
All right, and before I ask if anybody has any challenges, Scott, you have used both of yours. Nikki, you have used one of yours. Does anybody have any challenges to what has been said? No? All right, next question, Scott. The City Commission has a history of hiring outside consultants to study issues that affect city governance or process. The step usually causes delays in decision-making and carries a financial cost. What is your criteria for deciding if the commission should make its own decision or hire outside help?
I think my favorite one of completely wasting money is when the city paid $40,000 to someone to stand downtown with a decibel reader to see how loud noise was. I think that there are times that you want to use someone from outside the city, as far as if you were looking at something as an investigation or something as if there was a sensitive issue with a budget question that you might want to look at that. But for some of our more common sense issues, we have plenty of people in our universities, plenty of people in our staff that could do something besides wasting $40,000 on how loud music is outside downtown. It's completely ridiculous.
All right, Nikki?
I'd like to see us use consultants less if we can do it. The way it was explained to me when I inquired about this is that we don't have a person on board that can manage whatever that particular thing is. And so by paying a consultant's fee, we're not hiring somebody full-time and bringing them on for very niche things, which makes some sense. Now, having said that, do we need as many as we've had? I'm not privy to that information. I would like to see us use local people. I agree the colleges would be excellent. Wahpeton does a lot of that collaboration. It would be good opportunities for our students if we can bring those niche things here. I am concerned about the financial piece of it. Is it necessary? I don't know. I imagine in some cases it is. There's a time and place because something is so specific that we may need some outside guidance. But I'd like to try to find somebody at home, and I'd like to keep the cost down if we can do it.
Thank you. Aaron?
I don't have any data or facts to back it up, but I have heard that the use of consultants is a little bit bloated, let's put it that way. I think there's a time and place for consultants. I know in the Park District we've had different projects, a park system master plan or any sort of master planning. It helps to have different types of experts. So I think it just depends on what it is. So I think we need to use them more strategically, but I'd like to see the staff try to be able to find more ways to work on things internally before seeking consultants. So I would say I don't have a perfect outline of what is the criteria of when you bring them in, when you don't. But again, I think I would like to see the staff try to do more of it internally.
All right, Anna, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Aaron about the idea that consultants need to be brought in when they're needed for specific things, but when we're talking about that, there's so many variables there. And really looking at that budget to see where we are spending our money on consultants, because if we're spending millions of dollars on a consultant from another state to come in and tell us how to do our business, that I'm not okay with. If it's my local builders industry association and we're partnering together to come up with some good ideas, I'm all for that. So I think there's a balance there for this consultant thing, and it's always been a hot button issue, and I think it'll continue to be until we really dial in on why we use them and what we're using them for.
All right, thank you. Chad?
Long before my political career, the running joke was you have to go out of state if you want an expert. Meanwhile, we sat in the room shaking our heads saying these folks don't know any more than we do. Back to my resource allocation topic. Maybe it's coincidental regarding the number prior, but we spent $40,000 on a survey to receive 400 responses. I cannot believe that's true. No one has countered that when I've said it. Something as simple as I want to find out what's the best water bottle. You can go to Grok, type in what's the best water bottle survey, give me 10 surveys with 10 answers. Your comms department, skilled people, can figure out what are the 10 most prudent questions, put that online, put a QR code on your water bill, make it all free, and make it a habit, make it every quarter. That's literally pennies. There's no way you could burn through $40,000 in staff time accomplishing data gathering. I just think things happen without input from the commission. I think things happen without people's knowledge. It just sort of gets done on a consent agenda. The result is before the commission. We need better engagement and far greater attention paid to where we're putting our dollars in terms of resource allocation.
Okay. Thank you.
Jeremy?
Can you repeat it one more time, please?
City governance has a history of hiring outside consultants to study issues that affect the government or the process. It causes delays. It carries a financial cost. What's your criteria for deciding if the commission should make its own decision or hire outside help?
Well, if we're elected, the people are expecting us to be smart enough to do it, and if we're not, we're not dumb, but it should be a last-ditch effort if you're actually going to get a consultant, because at the end of the day, the people are not really interested in seeing their tax dollars go to pay for someone when the city has 1,200 employees, great colleges around the area, other partnerships where it should be a last-ditch effort. If you're ever going to call a consultant for something, exhaust all your resources, all the people that you know, because just because someone works in a certain department also doesn't mean they might have prior experience, and whatever you need consulting on, you can have that conversation with them. So my stance is you shouldn't have to do it if you've exhausted all your resources. If it really comes down to it and you can't get someone to do it without having an outside consultant, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Anyone wish to challenge anything said during that last round of answers? Okay, on to the next question. And Nikki, you'll go first on this one. Okay. Many people say they won't go to downtown Fargo because they don't think it's safe. Businesses in many ways are being affected. What can be done to improve safety downtown?
We're already seeing a turnaround. I went downtown, I visited with businesses. They don't have great concerns, at least the businesses that I visited with. I specifically chose one on each block because each block looks just a little bit different. And I visited with them, and there is a lot of pride. There have been a hiccup or two, but not threatening, more annoying than threatening. Having said that, I would really like to see us boost our downtown, grow our downtown. I visited with our police chief, and he's got some great ideas coming on board I think are going to make citizens feel a whole lot better about coming downtown. Sadly, I think maybe some of the people that say some of the things maybe aren't frequent downtown goers. And if they'd go down and have supper or see the movie or have a drink or do something like that, they might see the vibrancy downtown.
Okay, thank you. Aaron?
I spend a lot of time with downtown business owners. That is a part of commercial real estate that I focus on. And there is an issue, perceived and real, and especially if we have people visiting and they're shopping downtown and they're getting either panhandled or they just don't feel comfortable. If you think about what happened during COVID is we had a police station downtown. So where you have a police station, you have police presence. And then we replace that with the engagement center. So now we lose our police presence, and we have, as we've heard, kind of the 40 to 60 sort of individuals And so I think that has greatly impacted downtown businesses, in addition to other things following COVID. But I think if there can be some sort of an increased police presence, I think that will help. I think hopefully following COVID now, if we can get some momentum downtown, perhaps some of the business things can kind of pick up a little bit. Maybe there's some other things, Science Museum or potentially the convention center or things like that might help bring more life and activity to downtown, because when it's busy downtown, then the individuals who are generally causing trouble aren't around where the crowds are.
Thank you. Anna, next.
Give me the question again.
Yes. Many people say they won't go to downtown Fargo because they don't think it's safe. Businesses in many ways are being affected. What can be done to improve safety downtown?
Well, I think perception is the key, right? I think if we're really talking about what's real, it's the perception of what's safe. So many people go downtown with their children. They wouldn't go downtown if it wasn't safe, and you see them every weekend. You see them at the farmer's market. You see them every night, going to the bars, the college kids, the restaurants. They're everywhere. The problem that we have isn't as big as we think it is. And the businesses have specific issues with like 4 people. Is that a real issue, or is it like 4 people? And on top of that, the police do have a little bit of a presence now, as far as I know, that they have that new inside the parking garage that what do they call it? The side station for them, so that hopefully they can start having more of a presence. And when they're doing their walking, one of the biggest things that I think about that we don't talk about is why we decided many years ago to keep our bars open so late, and then wonder why we have problems at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you, Anna. Chad?
Perception is reality. No matter where you stand on this position, the perception of what's transpiring downtown is the reality for most folks that don't go downtown. And more importantly, the folks that are downtown. Interestingly enough, I was approached by a friend of a friend. That friend of a friend owns a business in downtown, and she was afraid to come forward to the police because the last interaction she had with a gentleman that made bad choices was him coming back after the fact. She called the police, they showed up, took care of him, he came back and said, if you ever call them, you will regret it. I have another story. There was a person, another business owner, gentleman downtown. Again, these are people that are afraid to speak. Called the police. The people from the deck showed up and gave them their card and said, next time you have a problem, don't call the police, call us first. People are afraid to talk. We need to change the perception of what's transpiring downtown. How do you do that? Additional police enforcement and open dialogue with civil servants. Us, potentially us, elected officials, other police officers. I don't care if it's social workers. The dialogue needs to open to figure out where we can get resolution to this so that we can stabilize our downtown. Again, perception or reality? The perception is the reality, and that's how you change things.
Jeremy?
There's a few things with it. So one, downtown maybe many years ago was a place where it just kind of felt small town vibe where you could just go, chill, no problems. We're coming to a bigger city now. So what I'm getting at is I believe downtown's plenty safe. I've been down there when I was petitioning. I go down there when I host my free karaoke. I'm out there from up until about 1, 2 a.m. in the morning. It's plenty safe. Just a whole lot of people going bar to bar, having a good time. What I've heard from business owners that are down there, the biggest thing that gets them is when there's homeless people who just happen to be outside. I don't want to call it heckling, but they stop their customers that come in. That makes the customer feel uncomfortable, so they don't want to go down there. Not necessarily per se that they're not safe, but it's just, I just want to come in here and do my business and not be bothered while I'm doing that. So at the end of the day, if we took care of the homeless problem that would be down there and do that, then people would feel more safe to be able to go ahead and come downtown. Because sure, there's been some instances that have happened, but as we've said, those are later in the evening. So during the day when people should be just down there shopping, doing whatever, I think it'd be totally fine.
Okay, thank you. Scott?
I think it's a huge problem, and I don't think it's necessarily one time of the day or another. I'll give you 2 quick stories. One, I did a police ride along a couple years ago. There was clearly someone that we saw about 7, 8 o'clock at night that was completely passed out, either on drugs or on some type of you're inebriated. At that time, the instructions were, as long as they're breathing, we don't bring them in. We don't bring them into detox. We don't do anything with it. I've seen that several different times where people are clearly passed out downtown. We do not have a ticket that we write for that. We do not, even if we're not even going to do a fine, we do not do anything to that person as long as they're breathing. Hopefully that changes in the near future. The other thing is we took panhandling and aggressive panhandling off the tickets. We do not write a ticket for it. There's not even an option to write a ticket for that. A few years ago, it was. As of currently right now, you cannot write a ticket for aggressive panhandling. For example, I brought my co-workers. We had a wonderful lunch downtown. He wound up getting a parking ticket. He looked over and saw a young lady get aggressively panhandled for her leftovers. He said, how can they do that and not get a ticket, but I get a ticket for an extra 10 minutes parking? It's a big problem that needs to change.
Okay. This would be a great spot for our halftime break here.
Did we have any challenges first?
Thank you, Bonnie. Yes, thank you for that. Any challenges on anything said there?
Yep. One for Scott. Yeah. So let's say if we ticket the panhandlers, if they don't actually have any money to give for the ticket, what do we do after that? We're just going to forever let them sit in jail, or what do you do?
No, it'd be exactly like we do with camping. So camping was not a ticket over the last few years. As soon as they put the camping ban in effect, we wrote out 33 tickets for camping. It does not have a fine. It's more of a way for police to track behavior and to also get to know those people to get them the right resources and help. But you can't just turn a blind eye. You have to address it, and that's where you have people on feet on the ground that can be there to deter panhandling, especially aggressive panhandling. It does not have to have a fine.
Okay, thank you for that. So with that, a 4-minute break, and we'll be back with more on our Fargo City Commission debate here on WDAY and the Flag. Our company headquarters here in South Fargo, the Fargo City Commission debate on WDAY and the Flag. You're listening to WZFG Dilworth and WDAY Fargo Moorhead, West Fargo, USA. All right, we get back to the questions now, and our next round of questions. Bonnie, take it away.
Aaron, you're first with this one. Some residents feel like they're not being properly represented. They want to move to a ward system in city council government, so those elected come from all parts of the city. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I see pros and cons to the commission and the ward system. I think the pros of the current system is that if you end up with two or three really strong candidates in the same ward, now potentially you're losing out on 3 really good commissioners, and maybe another ward they're kind of scraping to try to get someone to raise their hand. The other issue that I see potentially with the ward system is that it could kind of create almost like competition between the wards, and sort of like, I'm here to represent my ward and I want to try to get things for my group. But ultimately, I think the pros outweigh the cons on the ward system. I think it will be easier to get more people to come out and run if you don't have, like, campaigning this is my second time doing an entire city. It's really difficult to campaign in an entire city, and it can get really expensive. So if people are thinking, I've got to get $25,000, $50,000, or $100,000 in the mayoral race, that can be really intimidating to do that. So I think wards could potentially could encourage more participation and get people to come out. So ultimately, I mean, I see pros and cons. The last point too would be, if you look at any other city over 100,000 people, the ward system is what's way more common. It seems like the commission structure is geared much more towards the smaller towns with sort of the liaison structure. So close, but if I had to pick one or the other, I would say I'm in favor of the ward system.
Anna?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because it really is everywhere. We're talking about it right now. And maybe the ward system works in Moorhead for them, and it's a great thing in theory, but I think we forget about the actual cost of it for our budget. And I'm not saying I'm against the ward system, but I do think that we could add some more commissioners. I'd also like to have this conversation with my community, because just us having this conversation means nothing. If it gets on the ballot and the ward system is something they want to have, then let's talk about it. Let's figure out what that looks like. But the mayor's not 100% wrong when he says this is how much money it's going to cost. It's not free. Anytime you add somebody, it's an expense, and we're talking about adding when we're trying to cut the budget. So that's what I think about it.
All right, Chad?
The result we should be after is better governance. Does this result in better governance? I contend maybe. The way we need to do this, the way it's presented right now, from a ward, elected by a ward, to me is counterintuitive. Why? The entirety of my childhood and my adult life, we've done an amazing job of breaking down silos. When I was little, Moorhead was in a silo. Fargo was in a silo. West Fargo was in a silo. None of them cooperating. It was all competition. We've now linked our EDC, our Chamber of Commerce, our Drug Task Force, our Joint Dispatch Center, which is the only joint dispatch center in the United States that has a cross-border dispatch authority. We've done such a good job partnering, and now the city of Fargo could theoretically regress to from a ward by a ward. If we're going to do the wards, the logic is representation in terms of vision regarding what's happening in areas of the city. I think that's prudent, that's logical. What I would recommend if we're gonna go that way, is you replicate what the county does. You are from a ward, elected at large. I should be accountable to everyone in the entire city, not just the parochial feelings of my neighborhood. Okay. We need to be elected at large.
Thank you. Jeremy?
I'm in support of the ward. For those that don't know, there is a current petition for it. I'm not running that one, but I do know that there's a petition for that. I'm quite sure they have enough signatures, so if they submit it, it'll be on the ballot. So regardless of what we think of it, if the voters want to have it, it'll go ahead and happen. For those that don't know how a ward system works, you can kind of think of Fargo kind of split into different pies, and in each pie, the representative for that area would then be elected from people in that area to represent them at the city. It would be called a city council, no longer a city commission. And the beautiful thing about it is, because it was on a petition, it could get changed from a petition. So if we did the council and people ended up not liking it, I was like, hey, this really isn't actually going the way we thought it would. You could do another petition to put it back to a commission and revoke it if it didn't work out. So even in the beginning, if it seems like it's going to be great and it changes that it doesn't, cool, we can change it. If we do it and it works out well, we just keep on trucking.
Thank you. Scott, your thoughts?
Yeah, saw the mayor's report of the $500,000 to have the ward system. I have no idea where that money, that would be so inflated as a cost. It doesn't sound like anyone else can figure that out as well. I'd leave it up to the voters. I live in South Fargo. I would love to represent that ward if it happened. But I will tell you that the differences in South Fargo compared to if you're going to be that commissioner for downtown or North Fargo where I grew up, you have a lot of different issues. So just because you're going to be the representative for a ward in one area, you better be knowledgeable on the other areas as well. There's a lot more issues that would be as far as infrastructure, businesses, growth in certain areas versus in my neighborhood. Probably the biggest thing that we have is speeding as of right now. We already have, the houses are all fairly new, infrastructure is there, businesses are continuing. We have Target that's moving in right across the street over here. So I'll leave it to the voters to decide.
All right, thank you, Nikki.
I too would like to hear more from those that are for it and against it. I'm kind of on the fence with it. I like the idea of having two more voices at the table. I don't like the idea of raising our expenses considerably. I believe the estimate that was given was somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000. I'm not a fan of that at all. I like the idea that it would be 6 sections, 6 wards, so you could represent a ward. You would have that representation at the table. I like the way it's working now because all the commissioners have to be paying attention to all parts of the city. And so the good and the bad of that is representing just one ward. Because if you were out to fix, say, a road or a bridge or something in your ward, you could hold up other things and that work, and say, I'm not voting for anything until my bridge gets fixed. I don't want to see anybody held hostage for those reasons either. So I'm on the fence.
Challenges, anybody?
By the way, for challenges, Nikki and Jeremy have 1 left. Scott's out, and the rest of you have 2 left to go. Right, Bon?
Yep.
Good to know.
Okay, sounds good.
It's on.
All right. Next question, and Anna, this one will go to you first. When it comes to the yearly budget process for the City Commission, what kinds of things should be considered wants, and which kinds of things should be considered needs?
Ooh, that is a really good question. I think when we talk about this, it's the transparency we're talking about. What does the community think is the most important wants and needs? It's not necessarily what I think or all the commissioners think. Like Scott's saying about the different areas of town, everybody has a different voice on these things, and I think that's where we need to be having the conversations.
Okay, thank you. Chad?
I think it's an incredibly complex process that simplifying simply down to wants and needs might be a bit of a struggle, so I'll present it holistically in terms of what I believe. We need to present our budget on a zero baseline every year. I think what's happened in the past is you sort of start at, I'm going to pick a number of $120 million. We then inflate at a rate of 3 or 4% arbitrarily and then pick COLAs and things like that as well. What needs to happen is you start with your baseline expenditures and you grow from there. That number should vary. And that would be how I would account for the $40,000 allocation that I talked about before. Is I don't think the commission knew. It was in a budget somewhere that had always been in the budget somewhere, and it just got spent that way. I think if we set a zero baseline, we figure out through the transparency process like we do at the county, where it sounds cheesy to say this, I realize it, but I can tell you the number of bullets we bought every year and the caliber of each round. We should deal with that level of detail. It sounds like minutiae to some, but the reality of it is understanding where your budget is down to the penny should be rule 1, especially given the financial situation we're in right now. Every commissioner should understand those things. That's how we determine our wants and needs from there.
Okay. Jeremy?
At the end of the day, the budget will always come first for needs. And when you got to break that down, though, is you might need, I don't know, let's call it, if you need garbage to be done, police, fire, great, that's going to have to be a need. It's a core city function. When you come down to that, though, you got to look at the actual efficiency of what that need is, because if you have the need and you're paying for it, but maybe you could be paying too much for it, you have to look at how you can scale that back, and then you can put any of that leftover money into any wants that the city could have from there, and then continue to grow and move forward after that.
Okay. Scott?
I would eliminate anything that is not a core function. we mentioned the Drug Engagement Center, the DEC, whatever you want to call it. We're looking at that dollar amount as 1.7, could be 2 million for 2 years, with good faith of $700,000 potentially in donations. As of right now, there's not a financial statement that says that we've collected $1 on that. Now let's remind that as well. We already budget and spend $180,000 a year on the same exact type of building in 501c3, less than a couple blocks away from there at the center on 15th Street. We cannot continue to spend and have a budget where we have one department with supplies that has, just simply say supplies, at $638,000 for the public health department. How much that supplies goes for the needle exchange program? It's not transparent. It should be able to dive in there and figure out exactly where every single dollar is going to.
Okay, Nikki.
For me, my priority would be that our core services are first. Safety, fire, that's all paramount. That has to be there. We all want our roads plowed. We all want decent streets to drive on. We all want water to come out of the tap. So we need to pay attention to those things. In Fargo, and I'm sure elsewhere, a large chunk of our expense is personnel. And we have to take care of our personnel. Every year you have to look at insurance, what's included, what's not. Do you look at high deductible? You have to look at pensions and or retirement programs. There's a lot of different pieces. So there's pieces within City Hall, there's pieces outside of City Hall. And I think we can bring teams together and say, hey, we need to take a look at this. If we renew printers, everybody gets a new printer every 2 years. Can we do it every 3 years? Do we have subscriptions that we really don't need to have? A lot of software has gone by that way now. You have to subscribe to it. So I think there's a lot of things that we can take a look at, but there are some things that we don't have as much control over as we would like. And we need to keep staff.
Aaron.
So as commissioners, we set the vision and the strategy, and we levy the mills. Obviously now there's the 3% property tax, so that sort of adds to the mill levy. But then we let the staff determine what are the wants and the needs. Here's the vision, here's the strategy, here's the resources we're allocating. Now you figured out, we actually just went through this at the Park District. It was pretty amazing. Our staff gets together. Again, it goes back to my initial kind of core plan. Get the staff together. The staff came to us and said, they basically work it out between themselves and say, here's our wants and our needs, and they determine and what they want and need and bring it to us. Another thing that I don't think anybody's really talking about, we just started this at the Park District, is a long-range capital plan. And as far as I'm aware, we don't have one at the city. When we build a road, we know it has a lifespan, 20 years, 25 years, something like that. So we can start planning and budgeting for that immediately. So ultimately, I think it's up to the staff to present to the commissioners.
All right, any challenges in that round of answers?
Yeah, I got a challenge for Scott. I'm very curious as to what, you said that you want to get rid of the engagement center, but then lean on the center itself to house and handle all of that stuff. Is that correct?
Correct. There's two different entities.
What my question is, do you really think that is a plausible way to transfer everybody and everything that is happening within that system to a nonprofit system?
Correct. That's exactly what we did before COVID. It's been there for over 20-some years.
Okay, very good. You had 30, you used about 10, so very efficient. Well done, got right to it there.
All right, Chad, you're on deck here with this next question. Many residents have said they'd like to get rid of special assessments. Can that be done, and if so, how?
We need to start at the beginning. So the last couple of months I've been talking to folks about this. There's a misunderstanding from far too many people that I've talked to that think when special assessments go away, you no longer have to pay for roads, bridges, water, sewer. What you're doing is you're simply moving those dollars into a different mechanism. It's very easy to digest when you have a new building. It goes into the cost of the lot, the cost of the house, whatever, but the cost still exists. The thing that's shocking to me is this isn't a one-off story. This is multiplicitudes of people who think that getting rid of special assessments means no more bills. The road ferry is going to come along and pay for all these things for us. So the first thing we need to do is educate the population at large as to the downstream ramifications of what we're talking about doing. Further, we need to understand 10 years from now what happens. And as an example, let's say you're in an existing house like I am. My house was built in 1970. If I get a special assessment and we get rid of special assessments, where does the money come from? Does it come from the city's general fund? Because that could be a proposal. I contend there's not nearly enough money locally within within our tax base. That means you have to go get a second mortgage at a higher interest rate. And I would love to talk about this for 2 hours because this is an incredibly complex issue that I think far too many people do not understand. Thank you so much.
Time. Jeremy? You went a little over.
That's why I said thank you and hands up. I apologize.
Bro. So you want really what would it? Yes, it always has to be paid for if you have a new road, piping, whatever. What people don't want is for it to fall on them after they already own their home or if they've been in their home for a little bit to like, hey, I've been in here for 10 years and wow, now I got to have on this additional bill for a special. People don't like to have that. So if it was new construction, sure, build it into the base price of that home and whatever that surrounding area is. What people would probably like to see is the city actually pay for it. Well, how do you do that? Well, you're going to have to, either pull back on what you're currently spending money on in the city budget. 75% of it, does go to actually paying for personnel. It's $110 million, so there's only $30 million left over. So that wouldn't be a lot for covering any brand new infrastructure. However, there is opportunities for brand new solutions for creating revenue. This isn't one that the city could do, but just something that I did see what the state did with the new blackout plates. It's been out for about 9 months now, and the state's garnered a little over $1.5 million just from using a different plate that you can have even though it's a different color. So there's opportunity for new solutions to bring in revenue to the city that doesn't involve taxing the citizens.
All right, Scott?
We're recently seeing some difference in this situation with developers. Some developers are now using specials as an incentive for them to buy their properties. So instead of going through the city to do the infrastructure, certain developers are taking it upon themselves, and guess what? They're finding out it's cheaper to do it through themselves independently versus having the city pay for the specials and pay for the infrastructure. There is definitely a cost issue as well. I'll give you an example. For about 10 years ago, a replacement, not a new, a replacement of a stoplight was $1.2 million. The price of our specials are insane. We need to evaluate and have the lowest price when we are bidding our projects. We have projects out there right now, such as Main Avenue, that is so highly bid right now that you'd be a business killer. Not one person. That's why it got delayed, is because there's not a company out there that is going to bid that project. The costs need to come down.
All right, Nikki?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't love specials any more than anybody else does. They put in a new stoplight and I get a new bill. I think that's the hardest piece of it, is that it's real inconsistent. We can't make specials go away because we have to pay those some way, somehow, out of something. And we can get creative with funding. Bismarck has done it, and so they might be a good example for us to look at. Having developers take some of that on might be another avenue, and I'm sure there are many other good ways that we could do that. But we can't just get rid of them because the expense does still exist. I don't love the way we do it. I'd like to find a different way to handle it. But we need to have those things. We need to have the curb and gutter and all of those things that go with it.
Aaron, your thoughts?
Obviously, special assessments are very unique throughout the country, and we do utilize them. And as other candidates have said, there's new development and then there's replacement. So new development, I think we could look at having the developer take that cost on. That would make sense. From what I hear from developers I've talked to, though, is that benefits the larger ones, because the larger ones can absorb those costs and pass them on. So this would hurt smaller developers. So it just depends. Do we want to support the large? Not that we shouldn't support larger developers, but I'm also pro small business. So if that's going to hurt small developers, I'd be concerned about that. And maybe it's an approach where it's not just a one size fits all, where we're more strategic on how we implement them on new development. So replacement costs, or the replacement specials, that's the one that I just don't understand how we're going to change that. So if my road gets repaved, does Nikki have to pay for it? I mean, really, that's the other option, is now it comes out of the general fund. All of our taxes have to pay to fix my road. That helps my property value. So maybe that's where long-range capital planning could come in at some point. I mean, it's going to take a while. If we eliminate specials, it would be a big process.
All right, Anna, your thoughts?
Well, I really agree with what Chad was saying. You have to educate people on the specials and the taxes before we can have these kind of conversations, because wouldn't it be great if we just got rid of our taxes? We live in a state that our taxes are so low, we should be thanking Jesus every day. And I mean, I'm being serious for that. Look at all these other states and how much money they're paying in their taxes for real. And you like the roads we drive on and the light streets outside and the lights that we stop at and every bridge that you don't die on. So these things are important. How are we going to fund it if we don't do that? I don't have that answer. I can't say let's get rid of specials because let's put it on the budget. We are already way over budget. So how are we going to do that? You can't take from the people that are doing the work for our city. Those are the most important people, and that's 90% of the budget, 75% of the budget, excuse me. Don't want to be misquoted, but you know what I mean. I think that this is a bigger question, and you can't get rid of taxes in general.
Okay. Any challenges there on that last round of answers?
I do have one, sir.
Yes.
For Mr. Schaefer. Where with specificity, in my house right now, I have a $20,000 special assessment given to me, thrust upon me by the city. Where with specificity does that money come from? And if it's just staff, that's a 1-year solution. Where does that money come from 10 years from now, specifically?
Jeremy, you got 30 seconds for the answer there.
Are you asking where does the $20,000 come from to pay for
If
the
we
special?
get rid of special assessments, who pays my $20,000 on my road, sewer, water? Where does that money come from?
That would be something that would be able to come out of the general fund if you were allowed for a rebudgeting of it. Now, again, we're not getting rid of special assessments like that day one. You would want to phase it out because you don't want to have any drastic changes in your budget like that. That would be one option. Second option would be something that you could do would be put it on in a sense of anyone that sold their house in that area. You could add that onto the housing price of it for an added equity for it, because now you say, hey, I got a house here and a brand new road that's attached to it.
So property taxes and additional property
Chad,
taxes.
sorry, you can't go back at, he had 30 seconds to answer. We'll leave it there. Thank you, guys, for the discussion there. Okay, question number 12, and Jeremy, this will go to you first, please. The city of Fargo is looking for the best possible site for a new convention center. 4 sites were considered, 2 finalists were chosen. Do you have an opinion on what the best location would be?
Ideally, I would say no location. If we have to pick one, right now all fingers are kind of pointing towards where the Bruhala spot is. That's not what I would even want to do, but if it were the way I see it, let's just take it back to when this was voted on. This was voted on 2 years ago. The people voted that they wanted it. There's going to be 3% lodging tax that was for it. When I read that one way, I looked at it would be, okay, we're gonna do this. Cool, that's going to get incorporated. By the time when it comes to when we pick a spot to do it, there should be a pool of money that's sitting there that we can contribute to go ahead and building this thing. Reality, though, is that money doesn't actually start getting collected until there's a proposal that's been accepted, and then it can start getting collected. So then we're going to be coming from the essentially a back pay to try to catch up to what it actually costs to make it. Whereas if it started right away, if we decided on a spot either this year or next year, that money could already been sitting there and then being used. So as of now, the way I sit with it, if it just doesn't financially make sense to even pick a spot, even if it's the best 2 spots, I just wouldn't even do it.
Okay. Scott.
Yeah, I watched the committee meetings online, and I think Charlie Johnson did a wonderful job with that committee, and I hope he stays involved throughout the whole process. I like both locations, and I think there's still going to be more to come on, obviously, what that looks like. I would really, as a longtime Fargoan, love to see something happen to the Civic Center. I had a lot of memories growing up there and having a lot of good events in that area. I think that downtown area to get $229,000 is what that is budget is for every year that we are basically getting no ROI on. Now, there's downsides to and positives on either or. I think if you do have it at the Civic Center, you would still not be able to have the larger events like Big Iron, et cetera, some of those larger different events. And that's probably a good thing. That way you're not taking revenue and different events away from the Fargo Dome or other things. The other thing is Bruhala location. They do probably one of the best jobs. Every weekend that parking lot is full, and I could see that area continually being a lot of events in there with that current location.
Okay.
I like them both.
Thank you. Nikki?
I, of course, will respect whatever gets decided. I don't know if they'll get it figured out before the election or not. But I too love Bruhala. I love to go there, but my heart is downtown, and I'd really like to see us do something with the Civic Center. Concrete is expensive, number one, so if that could put a dent in that budget. I know we have cost with retrofitting, but I'd love to see that between the two sites. That would be my preference. Scott's right, we're pouring money into it every year, no ROI. I think it could really drive and support our businesses downtown. We have the infrastructure downtown, we have the parking ramps, we have food, we have drink, we have shopping, we have entertainment. I shudder to think if we don't put it downtown at the Civic Center, what could possibly happen to our downtown.
Okay. Aaron.
So I'm one of the founders of Fargo Brewing Company. I've known the Drecker owners since before Drecker existed. Kevin Bartram is a great person, great developer, does awesome projects. I love what they do. Bruhala is fantastic and a great amenity for our community. My concern with that location is what happens in 10 or 15 years if Drecker or Bruhala decides they don't want to operate anymore. Now what do we do? Also, they are requesting a TIF district as well. So there's a lot more development that needs to go in at that site. And it is not very walkable to the core downtown, the Broadway area, I'm going to call core downtown. The Civic Center is sitting empty. What are we going to do with it? Now the Engagement Center is going to be empty. What are we going to do with that? The Fargo Cass Public Health Building across from the Engagement Center is also empty. What are we going to do with that? We have buildings available. We have high vacancies downtown. And it is the most walkable location to, I don't have stats or data, but the highest concentration of unique businesses in the community. A lot of the places you go downtown, you cannot find anywhere else other than Fargo. And it's next to the river, which is the most defining feature of our city.
Okay, thank you. Anna.
So I might be opening a can of worms here, but I have watched all of the committee meetings for this, the meetings that they had about it. And one of the last meetings, and I'm all for this convention center, people voted for it, we should have it, we need it. Now where it goes is a whole other conversation. Because as I understand it, in the very last meeting, we were told that it was $45 million that we had to spend. But actually, upon further review, the finance director said it was actually $51 million. So if we still only pick those two because of their proposals, what about the other two who didn't know we had $51 million extra? $6 million extra is a big deal when you're coming up with a proposal, no matter who you are. And I don't know what the other proposals look like exactly. And I don't think Bruhala or the Civic Center are bad choices, but I want to make sure we're doing things the right way. If somebody's proposal, if $6 million or $5 million could have changed somebody's proposal, I want to give them an opportunity to have that voice, to maybe voice that change. But I don't know all of the details around it, just what I've been watching.
Okay, thank you. Chad?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, sure. The city of Fargo is looking for the best possible site for a new convention center. 4 sites were considered, 2 finalists were chosen. Do you have an opinion on what the best location would be?
So the answer to that is no. The location needs to be the least impactful to taxpayers. Our citizens voted for this. That means we need to build it. But as I said in prior debates, it doesn't mean we get carte blanche to whoever wants to build whatever widget they want to build. The concern I have about Bruhala gets back to the premise of one of the first questions, asset allocation. If Bruhala is the lead, which it intends, they're purporting that they will take upon themselves all the risk. They said on the radio there was no TIF district, although I believe there will be a TIF district to some degree, whether it's for property tax and financing our operations. I think there will be some sort of a tax credit they're going to be asking for. But we are placing the engagement center, which is supposed to be a diversion center, across the street. We're spending $2 million on a 2-year lease that the owners have said within 2 years, we're going to kick everybody out. So motion number 1 is build the center at Bruhala. Motion number 2 is begin the search for another regional treatment center. That to me is so counterintuitive with not only literal capital we're expending, but the political capital that was expended to move the engagement center from downtown to this area defies logic. I can't process how we even got to this point. Thank you.
Okay. Any challenges from that round of questions and answers?
All right, and just on the challenges, by the way, Scott's done. Nikki, you have used both of yours, correct? Or Nikki has one left? Nikki has one left, excuse me. Aaron has both challenges left, and the rest of you have used one. So we're all on the same page. All right, Scott, economic development, attracting and retaining businesses in Fargo is critical to the tax base and job growth. What would you do differently from the current commission to support a stronger local economy?
Yeah, that's been one of the things I've been talking about. It's relevant to everything in business. Is you attract, grow, and retain. One of the biggest things our opportunity is right now is to retain. We need to retain business. We need to retain our population. If we do that, we're going to continue to attract. We're going to grow, but we have to retain, and that is through a strong police force. I'll give you an example, and if you look at the business side of it, if you look at shoplifting right now, shoplifting is a huge concern in our area. It has a very detrimental effect to our businesses. If you look nationally, you look at businesses like CVS that are pulling out of certain communities because they are not profitable. When you start to lose businesses because you're not enforcing shoplifting laws, what happens is you lose jobs, you lose tax revenue, and it will be a trickle-down effect, and it will also hurt the rest of our community.
Thank you. Nikki?
Would you read that again, please?
Yeah. Economic development, attracting and retaining businesses in Fargo, critical to the tax base and job growth. What would you do differently from the current commission to support a stronger local economy?
I don't know if I'd do it different. I'd just do more of it. The city can be a partner. You also have to work with the EDC. You have to work with businesses. We have financial tools that could possibly help some of them decide to come to Fargo. They also come not even necessarily for tax breaks, but they also come because of the business acumen that we have here. Sometimes they come for business reasons versus tax reasons. And so we would want to try to encourage those businesses to come in. Again, we hire regionally. We have many people who drive into Fargo for work. We have, attracting and retaining. I mean, the more business we have, the more we have going into our general fund.
All right, thank you. Aaron?
So we are competing. We're competing with other cities, not necessarily our neighbors in the metro, but Sioux Falls, Omaha, Twin Cities, other Midwestern communities. And so I think it's important that we stay competitive and we make sure that we do everything we can to attract businesses. And I think kind of an issue correlated to this is workforce, though, is you hear from almost every business leader that it's so difficult to find people to work jobs here. So I think maybe that's something that we also need to work on. We've already talked about housing affordability. That's part of it. Childcare, that's another big one. Affordable childcare. We have 3 universities in the community, partnering with the universities. I know when I was on the park board, we met with President Cook, and I said, how can we help at the park district? You're recruiting them here. How do we help keep them here and get them connected?
Thank you. Anna?
Yeah, I love this city as everybody else here does, and we want people to come here and stay here and live it and love it just like I do. And how do we do that? It's with every little thing that we do to bring into our town. Not just the wrestling, not just the pink concerts, not just the art on the streets. It's literally everything we do to bring people in here. And it's partnering with all of those businesses and all of the colleges to really keep the people that we get here to stay here. And like Aaron said, the workforce is such a big issue because we are not paying people what they need to be paid or they would stay here. And that is the bottom line. If our minimum wage is low, people aren't going to work those jobs. Who's going to do those jobs if nobody's getting paid? Nobody does the jobs. The businesses close. Then we don't have retention. We need to partner and strengthen our communities in this way.
Thank you. Chad?
We lean into the relationships that we already have. Places like the EDC, the Chamber of Commerce, those people are experts in this. We lean into them and accentuate the relationships that we have. I think the city hasn't been engaged enough, not nearly like we were when I was at the county for 12 years. Further, the most important part of your house is the most boring part of your house. The footing and foundations, the baseline, the things that keep your home stable. That's low stable tax rates, public safety, looking at other local political subs, education. The support network that we create as a community makes it effortless to recruit people here. You've heard, if you haven't, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends. Story after story of people coming to Fargo, being here and saying, this place is amazing. How did I not know about this before? I figured it was a frozen tundra. I thought you had polar bears and covered wagons. No, we have all the things that you do, and it's safer. We have better schools, better people, better rate of taxation, better income tax. All of the things from the baseline footing and foundation of the way we conduct ourselves as civil leaders, that's how we exacerbate and create better business environments.
Thank you. Jeremy?
So people move here too because of cost of living and opportunities, because otherwise once we have our 6-7 months of tundra, there's no reason anyone would want to stay here except for having those two things that go into it. My second priority I even have for myself too is entrepreneurial freedom. Really what that comes down to is someone who's on the commission to at least tell new local businesses or other businesses that want to come in, hey, we support you, we want you here. Now granted, the Secretary of State's office handles most of the new business paperwork that they have to do, but if someone's here locally, they're going to want to go to their local government first of, hey, what do I do from here? If we have some of that literature there and give them the encouragement, hey, we want you to go ahead and start a new business, hey, we want you to stay here. And then when people move here, when they see that wow, this city has people growing and doing businesses and it's crazy cold yet still, I might as well stay here and do the same thing too. Thank you.
Any challenges to anything?
No? Okay. All right, next question. This one, Nikki, this will go to you first. And my question for you is...
There you go.
Buried.
Is awesome.
Thank you, Bob.
It's the most awesome question.
Tell us something about yourself that voters would not learn from your campaign website or yard signs, something that explains why you specifically are the right person for this job right now.
Oh, wow. That is an interesting question. I'm a trap shooter, but I'm not really sure how that qualifies me for commission. Puts me in the gun owner bracket, I guess. I've done a lot of volunteer work through the organizations that I'm in, and I've done a lot of work at the state and the federal level. So I think that's going to help me in this position because I have worked with our senators. I've gone to D.C. I worked with our now governor when he was in D.C., so I have a lot of those relationships. I know a fair amount of legislators, so I can grab their ears when the need be. That's something that's not on my website that could be of benefit.
Okay. All right, thank you. Aaron?
I used to referee basketball. I started when I was 17 in high school, did it through college, after college, worked my way up into high school varsity and college. I actually did a Class B girls state tournament championship game, Minot Rhine versus Central Cass. Why is that important? You're out in front of everybody, and everybody is emotional and competitive, and they're extremely biased. They want their team to win. You make a call, half of the crowd thinks you're a moron and you're blind. 30 seconds later, the other half thinks you're a moron and blind. And I think I have taken so much of what made me a good basketball official. You have to have thick skin. You have to be able to stand in front of the crowd, make a decision, and stand with it. And if you boot the call, you go talk to the coach and say, I screwed that one up. And they can yell at you and go, well, you shouldn't have. I know I shouldn't have, but I did. So I think that's one thing that I take and apply that to public service.
Okay. Thank you. Hannah?
So something that's not on my website is I got my CDL at the public bus. I was a public bus driver for many, many years before I became the safety manager and did the hiring for the bus company. It's the most eye-opening experience I ever had because you see the people who make the city run. You're giving people rides on that bus from every walk of life, not just the professors, the students, the kids going to school, the lunch ladies, the teachers. It's literally everybody that's on that bus going to their jobs, going to do the stuff that makes our city run. And just seeing that gave me so much hope for our future and gives me an understanding of the diversity that's in our city. And like what Aaron was saying, I recently, and I'm not anymore, but have been umpiring kickball for Stonewall. And it is the most intense experience one could possibly have because, yes, they hate you and love you all at the same time. And how do you make that work for you? It's by being fair and equitable and knowing the rules and playing by them.
All right, Chad.
Well, I'm a swimming official, and most people in the audience don't know if I'm making the right call or not. So it's pretty cool. So I think that the thing I have that no one would know about is A, I have no temper. I simply do not get angry. And B, my partners and I, business partners and I have talked about this in the past too. I have an uncanny ability to segregate personal from business. I've actually been done wrong by my partners for tens upon tens of thousands of dollars. I hold no animus. It's a business thing. Is it immoral? Yeah, great. But I don't take it personally. I move on. And I think that can carry through, and I've seen that carry through to my action or my actions locally in Bismarck and in DC. You simply just work to get the job done. It's not personal. And even if it's personal in my direction, I simply don't take it that way because frankly, I don't care. I just want to accomplish the mission ahead of us regardless of how it gets done, as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical.
Okay. Jeremy.
Some fun things. 2014 West Fargo Packer High School graduate. I've dropped out of college 3 times. I broke my left wrist. I'm oldest of 7. I am an Army kid. Lived in Germany for 3 years. We came back to the States in 2006. The one that matters the most, though, the one that I can actually take a lot of experience from, is I used to run an Amway business for about 7.5 years. I didn't have major success, but I did have a team of about 10 people and was getting about $1,500 a month. So where that matters here the most is there's a skill set you got to have in chatting with all different groups of people, older, younger, from this side of the country, or from this place of wherever you actually live. And that helped a lot with having other conversations when I ran my petition as well too, that there's all different demographics and thoughts and opinions that people have. And if you come in there just one headstrong thought, it's going to be this way, without being able to hold space and have the conversation for them, you'll never get anything done. Because I had many conversations where people disagreed with why I was doing it, but at the end of it, they could still say, hey, that was a cool dude, even though he didn't like it, but that was a nice guy.
Scott?
Yeah, one thing that when I talk a lot about coming from big box retail and what I really enjoyed about that career and even before is big box retail has careers inside of a career. So you have so many different areas of business in there. So for example, for a few years, I worked in the tire department, learned how to put tires on vehicles, the difference between this tire, that. I also was a baker for many years. I can actually decorate cakes. I can smile. Decorate cakes. I've decorated probably thousands of cakes in my career. I've made muffins every day, and after that, I learned how to become a butcher. I was a butcher for many years as well, so I cut meat. But even before that, growing up, my dad owned a commercial cleaning company where I, on the weekends, would clean carpets or would refinish floors. I had my own buildings that I had downtown Fargo that I, throughout high school, that I cleaned and mopped, and I have a lot of different backgrounds professionally, kind of business within business. But personally, I'm a huge movie fan and love movie trivia.
Okay, very good. All right, before we get to closing statements, we have an opportunity for you to draw some distinctions between yourself and any of the candidates. This is optional. If you would choose to do that, you'll have 60 seconds to point out where you think there's a key difference between you and one or more of the people who are on the stage with you tonight. So again, this is optional. You don't have to do that, but you've got that choice if you would like to do that. Scott, start with you. Would you like to do this?
I think over this course of the day, I'm good.
Okay. Nikki?
Yeah, I think one theme, a couple of different things that I'd like to bring to the table, but I think others do too, is a level of professionalism and respect, interacting with each other. And for me, I think it's hope. I'm awfully proud of Fargo. I love it here. I've raised a family here, gone to school here, worked here. I want to see us succeed, and I want to see us move forward as responsibly as possible. I don't know if that makes me any different necessarily, but.
Okay. All right. Aaron.
I'm an entrepreneur. We started Fargo Brewing Company when I was 27 years old. I went full-time when I was 30. I had 3 equal partners in that business. We didn't have a swing vote. We didn't have a 3-2. So I think that also prepared me to learn how to sort of deal with disagreement or make decisions. How do you move forward with other partners? I'm on the park district right now. There were a lot of challenges when I got on the park board. I had a longtime staff member say it was probably about the worst he'd seen in his 30 years there. And at first when I got elected, I thought, oh shoot, what did I do? Why did I do this? But I looked at that as an opportunity to say, okay, I'll raise my hand, I'll step up. How do I make this better? How do we make this better? And it wasn't all me. I can't take credit for that. We also had other good staff, good commissioners. But I think those two things, in addition to all my other public service, all the other things I do, really, I'm a servant at heart, and I think that's what differentiates me.
Okay. Anna?
The thing that makes me different is this is my third time's the charm. I think that I have the tenacity to keep going because this is my third time doing this, and even if I didn't get elected, would probably do it again. Because I believe in this city, and I believe in our community, and I believe in myself. And I'm not a career politician, and that's what makes me different than everybody else. And on the other side of that, I'm a Native American woman, and representation matters.
Thank you. Chad?
I have decades of private business ownership where if things don't work out for me, I don't get paid. I'm the last one out the door and probably haven't been paid for years or months. That differentiates me from a lot of people, not just running in this race, but a lot of other races as well. Follow that by, you are going to hear endless stories about what I want to do, what I think should happen, what I believe in all the other expressions. I have 12 years of proven track record. When I gavelled out my last meeting, my statement was, I have left you a well-run, fiscally sound courthouse if you can keep it. The Cass County Courthouse is both those things, well-run and fiscally sound compared to no other local political sub. I had good partners along the way, but I don't think anybody would question. I was one of the driving forces behind making sure we could accomplish our mission as the citizens of Cass County expected at a reasonable level to not tax people out of their homes.
Okay. Jeremy?
I'm brand new, I'm fresh, young, lots of energy to go ahead and throw forward at this thing. I say this all the time, and if there's like, who are you, what do you stand for? I love people, I love Fargo, and I love God. Faith first in this thing. If you have no foundation for how you're going to run anything, that's how it's going to come. This ties in. I was downtown, I was doing my karaoke. Someone asked me, how do you deal with the drunk people all the time doing their thing? I said, listen, man, I'm a Christian at heart. I give people patience through and through because you never know if that one time of showing someone patience instead of just being rude to them or whatever, it might have been the thing that set them over the edge. So me just holding space for people matters a lot. Other thing with that, if someone needs to have a conversation, I am him. If we need to get something done, I am him. If anything needs to happen at all, I am that guy.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
All right. Time now for closing statements. You will each have 30 seconds to basically put a bow on it for our listeners and viewers. And Jeremy, we're going to start reverse order.
Oh, fun, spicy. So, election's June 9th. Early voting is June 2nd through the 6th. I have a Facebook page, Jeremy Schaefer, for Fargo City Commissioner. 3 priorities are citizen engagement, entrepreneur freedom, lower property taxes, and elimination of special assessments.
Fargo.com. Go there. You can learn about me, ask for a yard sign, participate in this election. This has been the most engaged I have seen a city commission race since I have been paying attention to city commission races. The most important part about this is get out and vote. I ideally think you should vote for me. I think I'm above and beyond, much respect to my compatriots here, above and beyond qualified for this. But if you don't vote for me, please show up and vote. We need voter turnout, regardless of who you support, and it should be me. Thanks.
Thank you. Anna?
Shameless plug, Chad. Shameless. I just want to say thanks for having me, and that I appreciate all of us and all of you guys for being here today. And I'm not going to say, please vote for me, please vote for us. I want you to get out and vote. It's the most important thing we do as a community is to vote. Because if you don't go out and vote, your voice is not heard. And that's the most important part in this. Thanks for having me.
All right. Aaron?
I feel like I should have brought T-shirts to sell maybe or something like that. But thank you to WDAY and the flag. This is great. As Chad had mentioned, it's awesome to see the engagement. It's important. More people pay attention to national politics, but our locally elected officials impact your lives way more. So please pay attention. I have had the opportunity to meet with all the commissioners, all the mayoral candidates. I have a demonstrated history of building relationships, working with any and everybody. And for the record, if anybody wants to have a coffee, hit me up, aaronhillfargo.com. I'll meet anybody, anywhere, anytime. And I do ask for your vote on June 9th, or if you vote early. Thank you.
All right, Nikki?
Thank you to WDAY and the flag for having us here. It's always a joy to hear everybody's thoughts and ideas. Yeah, I'm at gullicksonforcommission.com, and you can see more on my website there. I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate talking to all of our voters out there. Key focus areas, again, just to recap: downtown revitalization, community engagement, and fiscal responsibility are what I am for in a responsible, respectful way. Doesn't mean we can't disagree. We can grow that way, but we don't need to be difficult.
All right, Scott?
You get a hold of me at my Facebook, Scott Brecky. I appreciate your having this event, and I would ask you vote for me on June 9th. I'm going to keep it very simple. I believe in eliminating any unnecessary funds that are not part of our core infrastructure for the city. I believe in a strong police department. And again, the first thing that I would do is end the needle exchange program.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. That'll do it for our debate tonight. Thank you to all of our candidates for giving your evening here tonight, giving us and all of you watching and listening a chance to learn a little bit more about you. Like Teddy said, these are the people in the arena, the people who have said, let's go ahead and let's do this, get off the bench. It takes courage and commitment to put yourself out there, and much respect to you for the investment effort you are making. As a city, we're lucky to have you in the arena. As has been said tonight, get out and vote. Make sure that you make your voice heard. And thanks to our team here at Fieldstone Group for the extra effort tonight. Good evening, and thanks for being with us. For my colleagues, Bonnie Amistadi, Jeff Thaden, and everybody behind the scenes, thanks very much for being with us. Have a great night.
All right. 2 hours of Fargo City Commission candidates. Steve Hudglake moderating that, buddy. It was a good debate.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. We've had this happen most of the time when we do things, and people are very professional. They're cordial. I think they understand. And I talked a little bit about it kind of in the close of the program is, these people are not doing this for a good time. They're doing it because they really want to be involved. They want to make a difference. And, the costs that they put into this thing, the investment, money, time, effort, knocking on doors and all that, I think they respect each other. And there was no real flamethrowers here. It was different when we had, the congressional candidates here before, and you had that group that was fighting for Congress. You had Rick Becker and Julie Fedorchuk and Alex Balaz.
Yeah.
I mean, they got after it.
Yeah.
These folks
Stakes
are a little bit more
higher
cordial.
in that one.
Maybe
I'm not saying this isn't important, but now you're getting onto a big level, federal level.
So it was good. I thought we definitely got some differences in the candidates. The goal was to help people who listened and watched understand who's about what, who's going to stand for what. And I think there were some very clear statements made by the candidates today about what they believe in and things they think are big problems and not problems at all. So I think in that respect it was pretty good. But, yeah, it wasn't real feisty tonight.
No.
But a lot of good stuff.
I'll say this again. I live in West Fargo, so I don't get to vote in this election. But with that said, may not agree with everything the candidates, have, their vision or how things should change, what they'd like to do. But I got to tell you, man, this is a good crop of candidates. It's going to be tough for folks that are going to vote in this election. You got some hard choices to make.
You said it right. You have choices in this commission pool. You have people who are very clearly their priorities are the human side.
Yep.
The addiction, the mental health, making it be a place where people are proud, where there's a good rapport within the community and within the commission. And then you have people who are very much on the hard side of fiscal things and process things. And for them, it's more about, okay, the city needs to be a business. So I think you've got a really good range, and you've got some people that kind of feel like they're sort of halfway in between.
Yeah, and you just said a key word. Some feel the city is a business. It is a business. I'm not saying that the city should not be involved in, helping with the homeless and, affordable housing and all that. But I feel that the city has gotten too involved in it. We have plenty of nonprofits. I'm not saying you walk 100% away from it, but I think the job of a city, their main focus is not spending tons of time on this. Again, help. If you can help. But it's about public safety. It's about, fire, police, our streets, our taxes. That's the stuff that I think the city really needs to focus on.
Yeah, and happy to take calls and comments from you. Who did you think showed well tonight? Who did you leave wanting more from? Was there somebody who kind of won your vote tonight? Someone you felt like, I didn't know anything about that person, and I like what I heard. Or maybe it reinforced something that you heard tonight. So we'd love to hear from you.
701-293-9000. You can also email us. That's studio@WDAYradionow.com. 701-293-9000. No matter where you're listening. Or email us, studio@WDAYradionow.com. All right. And this is the first of, what do we got? Two more. We got one for, I believe, Fargo School Board, and then we got the mayor race. That mayor race, that one, I think that one's going to get feisty.
That one might get a little bit
you got
spicy.
some candidates on there that are spicy. Let's put it that way. So
might be.
All right, buddy. So for you as a citizen, now that the debate's over, you take your moderator hat off. What for you as a citizen of Fargo, Steve, is the most important thing in this election? What do you want to really see focused on and really worked on?
Yeah, I think my comments, and I'll probably again sort of not analyze and say I thought this person won the debate. It's just a weird dynamic when you're here in the room and you're promoting good conversation and the people leave and then you badmouth them. So
I don't want you to do that.
No, I get that. If I would say to me, where I see the needs of the city, I feel like the city itself needs a couple of things, and that is I think we need clear leadership and decisive action. we asked a question tonight about the process of hiring consultants and bringing in people to help you make decisions. And what I think we were hoping for in that round of questions was to find out who believes that consultants are a necessary part of things, who believes that we need to tap into the resources we have in the community the best we can, and then when do we bring in consultants? Because we have had in the city, Jay, we've had a lot of time. I think about the public comment period. Mm-hmm. We went weeks, if not months, and we couldn't make a decision on when to let people speak.
Yeah.
We didn't need a consultant for that. We just needed somebody to say, okay, what makes sense to allow people to speak so that people feel like they get their voice heard? And it took a long time. So we've been indecisive, I believe, as a commission. And I was just curious to find out when people thought that the consultants and bringing outside advisors, when that's needed, and what your criteria is for making that happen.
I'm glad that you guys had that question tonight, because that's something I've harped on for a long, long time. And it's not just Fargo. West Fargo does it as well. Moorhead does it. And that is, it just seems that consultants they're dependent on too much. It's like, you were elected by us to do a job, and your job is to, get the city in the right direction, take care of the city's problems, be able to work on the city's problems, whether it's good, bad, whatever. Not to constantly go out and get consultants. I mean, damn it, if you're going to do that, then why don't we just elect consultants to run the city? Or why do we even have a city commission? I'm not saying there's not a place for them. I can't remember which candidate brought it up or said, look, there's times when, let's look at it ourselves. And if we cannot, we just cannot figure this out, it's above our heads, let's bring in a consultant. I believe it was Scott Brecky that brought up the fact that the city spent, and I remember going off on this, $40,000 to bring somebody in with a decibel meter to figure out the noise level for the bands that are performing on the street in downtown Fargo. I remember going off and saying, you got to be kidding me. You people couldn't sit down. You could have went online and bought a decibel detector and just walked down there yourselves and figured this out. It's just there's too much dependence on consultants, and it adds up. Yeah. It adds up big time.
The other part of that sort of vein about are we going to make decisions and get on with it was a question about passing resolutions or statements of support for things that have happened nationally, internationally. And the one we've talked about a lot is the Israel versus Hamas, because that was
also Ukraine was another big one too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, there have been times when the city commissioners have been pressured to stand up on certain sides of issues that have nothing to do with the city of Fargo. And I think we were curious as we put together these questions, who believes in this group on the commission that that's an appropriate thing for commissioners to do? And I thought all of them gave a very similar answer, that that's not what we're here to do.
It was good to hear that. It really was, because I believe, like you as well, that that's not what a city commission or a city council, depending on your form of local government, that's not what their job is. Their job is not to get involved in national politics. And if a city, let's just say Fargo, let's say they did get involved and they said, okay, we stand with Israel, or we stand with whatever. What is that? That's not doing anything. That's not, or we're against this or against that. That's not going to change what's happening in the world. And you're taking precious time that could be spent on, hey, we property taxes, this or that. It's just you got to stay in it. Everything does not have to revolve around national policy. You know what I'm saying? I don't want my city commission getting involved in national political issues, whether it's war, whatever it is. That's not their responsibility. Fix my streets.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, and those are the things they can do. Those are the things that we need them to do.
That's right.
There were a couple places tonight, Jay, where I thought we had statements that really jumped off the page to me. The first one I remember was when we asked the question about the needle exchange program in the city. And do you think it's hurting or helping the drug problem in the city? And Scott Brecky, first thing I'll do is to work to remove the needle exchange program. Oh. And it was a rare moment of someone coming out and saying, I'm mad as heck and I'm not going to take it anymore. Nope. And that was one of those answers that you go, okay. Now, if you like that, that's going to make you say, he's a guy I'm going to vote for. But if you don't like that, you're going to say there's a guy that, he clearly just doesn't understand how people are and that we need to help. And on the other hand, said, yeah, we've got a pretty bad drug program there, but I think the program is important and it shows that we care. So right there, you're able to draw a pretty distinct line between those two. And that I think is what we had hoped to do tonight. If you didn't know anything about Anna Johnson or anything about Scott Brecky,
no, you do.
We have a pretty good idea where they stand on that particular issue.
That needle exchange program is a very, very hot button issue. It's a hot topic. And my belief is that if you were to go out there and poll, I would say a vast majority of citizens would say get rid of that program. I really do. And I like what Nikki said. I believe it was Nikki that said, look, they say that these needles are, we're getting all these needles back. And in reality, there's a lot that are out there. They're not.
She said,
back.
I don't like seeing all the needles where they end up.
Kid picks that up or whatever. And I do think the program is enabling. I always have. I think it enables. And word gets out. The more stuff that you hand out, the more word gets out amongst the community, and they're going to start showing up here. I firmly believe that. Former Fargo police chief, David Todd, when they started doing all this stuff, putting in the deck and everything he told the city at the time was going to happen has happened. He nailed he said, look, if you do this, this is going to happen. And it's not going to be good. You do this, it's going to happen. And it has all happened. We have got to find a better way, a different way to handle the drug problem. And it's not just this community. It's around the country. There's got to be a better way to do it. This just is not, in my mind, it just doesn't work.
Is there anybody tonight, Jay, that you didn't really know much about, but as you listened in and kind of took in what they had to say, you found yourself saying, okay, I understand what that guy or that gal is about, and I didn't know before?
Yeah, I would have to probably lean towards Scott Brecky. Listening to him, he's got a level head. Well, see, all of them, they've all done their homework. You and I talked the pre-debate program. It's like we don't want to hear a bunch of hey, affordable housing. Yeah, we got to fix affordable housing, and that's they actually dove into these questions, Steve, and they had answers for the most part. But yeah, Scott knew a little bit more about Scott. I think Scott's got pretty good vision, and I think he's pretty in tune into what's going on.
Yeah, I thought at times the candidates were willing to say, I need to do more research on that, on a certain issue. Yep. And I suppose you could hold that against them if you wanted to and saying, well, you should have enough at this point to be able to speak with some level of detail on that. But to expect a citizen who's not been in that chair before to be an expert on any one of these things is tough to do. But yeah, I'm like you. I remember hearing Nikki Gullickson, Scott Brecky, Anna John. Probably everybody at some time. I probably shouldn't just point out certain people, but just about everybody said, I did a ride along. Yep. I went and asked the questions. I went and talked to the cops. And that tells me that they're serious about the job. I don't want someone showing up and I don't even know if they have any idea, where the police shop is right now.
And Nikki seems to have been doing that a lot, really going and talking to different departments and people in the city. Chad Peterson didn't surprise me at all. I knew Chad was going to have his ducks in a row. His years on the Cass County Commission, I believe he was commission chair. So, I mean, he's really in tune when it comes to the inner workings of the city and the budget. I love when he said, look, when you guys were talking budgets, when I sat on the Cass County Commission, I could tell you exactly what we paid for every bullet and what the caliber was.
Yeah,
I mean that's he knows his numbers and he knows how to work a budget.
Going back to the needle exchange program, that's one area where I feel like people in our community, they may vote on just that issue. That might be enough for them just to say, I know all I need to know. So if that is an issue for you, we heard, I think, some mixed answers there. I think it's important to detail. Look, some people might say this is an issue for me, and I want to know you're going to keep this thing going if I'm going to vote for you. So if you are thinking that, I think you heard, as we mentioned, Anna Johnson say, I think the program is important, shows that we care. Nikki Gullickson said, I need more detail on this, but nationally we know from statistics that it makes a difference, and they're going to be in some program if we don't do this. So while she's looking for something more, I feel like she's sympathetic to the discussion, if nothing else, willing to have that conversation. On that one, I think, Chad Peterson said that, yes, the needle program is contributing to the drug problem we have in this town. That was interesting. Aaron Hill said a couple of times today, he said, look, we've got to have some balance here to our understanding. Yes, we have some problems, but we're not the only city that does. And I think that's helpful for us to remember, too. Like, these are not easy answers, the things that we all want to save and figure out. These are multifaceted, complex problems. He said that tonight about the needle exchange program, that, yes, there are, we can talk about should we have it or whatever, but we're not the only city that has this. And he said, I think it's well-intentioned. So, again, there's someone who's willing to have the conversation. And then you've got, as we mentioned, Scott Brecky earlier, where he said the first thing I'm going to do, like that was a big position statement for him to make. So
where he stands.
You do know where he stands. Yeah. So Aaron said the same comment about, we are a big city. We have problems, or when he talked about the budget as well, and said to think that a city of our size is not going to run some level of debt for something is probably unrealistic.
Well, yeah, we're going to have some debt, but the debt we have is concerning. It's a $1.3 billion, or the mayor's claiming it's really $750 million. Doesn't matter. $750 million, $1.3 billion. That's a lot of debt. That's a lot of debt load for a city the size of Fargo.
Yeah.
And speaking of debt load, special assessments. I think all the candidates they were honest. They had a grip on it, saying, "Look, yeah, there's something that needs to be done here, but we can't get rid of them. If we get rid of them, where's the money coming from?"
Yeah. It's the biggest frustration of that whole argument is when people say, I'm going to get rid of special assessments. And you sit and go, okay, how are you going to? Someone has to pay the money to develop that property.
Yeah.
Now, when I bought my first house, it was down in the Twin Cities area. There were no special assessments, but it cost me more to buy that lot.
That's right.
So it's going to cost somebody something. It's either the developer, it's the homeowner, or it's the city, I guess, that get involved in that. But someone's going to have to pay to develop that land, to put in the infrastructure, to put in the utilities and all that. So there are no easy answers on special assessments. And I've heard, Tony Garrick, who wasn't here in this meeting, he's talked a lot about, okay, yes, we get it. Someone's got to pay for it. But the city, the way they do it is creating debt just by having this debt just continue to pile up, and the way they do the financing, what piles they put the money into. So I was glad to hear people that didn't have that sort of, a utopian answer of we're just going to make somebody. Yeah, we'd all love to get rid of them.
I get in office, I'm getting rid of them. No, you're not.
Yeah, and I thought Aaron Hill made a good comment about that as well. It said, we can talk about the first time thing when you're building the house, but like the redevelopment stuff, when they got to redo your street, like how is that going to happen? You either do it by a special assessment, or everybody in the city pays for Steve Hallstrom's street out in front of his house. And so that is, he brought that up, and I thought that was a good point that he made tonight too, that it's a pretty complicated discussion when we talk about specials.
And I think when it comes to special assessments, I mean, nobody wants to pay special assessments, but I think most people logically know, okay, good. You know what? You're fixing my road. Yeah, okay, that's the street in front of my house, got to pay for it. I think where the problem comes in with special assessments, one, I think it is the assessment district. People question, wait a minute, why are we the only ones paying for this? Or why am I getting assessed $2,000 in this district and that person's getting assessed $10,000? And it comes back to, well, it's the amount of property you have. I believe that's how it works, But the argument that comes back, and it's a good one, is, well, okay, so because I have 150 feet of frontage, and you have 100 feet of frontage, so you pay less. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because we both use the road and the underground just as much. There's no difference in the amount of use we have on it. So I think they've got to come up with a better way when it comes to assessing these projects, the district size, and how the people are being assessed. And the other thing that happens, too, is the assessments. You're told it's this, and the next thing you know, you get a letter in the mail or there's a meeting. Oh, by the way, we were off. It's not $10,000, it's $30,000. That garbage has got to stop. Because I'm the same way. Look, at some point here in the future, we know that, Alex and I know our home is going to get hit with some pretty good-sized specials because the roads are going to have to be done, in our neighborhood. Okay, we know that has to happen. Yeah. But let's say, like, I'm using West Fargo as an example because that's where we live. There's been some big projects out there, one being Cheyenne Street all the way out through Eagle Run, everything. Well, that assessment district wasn't that big, and people were getting hit with massive assessments. And my whole thought on that was, well, wait a minute, that is a main thoroughfare. Yeah. It's not just the people in that assessment district that are using that main thoroughfare. That should have been that should almost be a citywide assessment. Yeah. So yep. I agree. It's a tough nut to figure out, but I think there are some things that could be tweaked and that would give people some relief. Yeah.
There were a few lines I think that landed tonight, Jay, if I can say it that way, where someone made a statement and it just seemed to resonate. And whether you agree with the person or not, you say to yourself, that line landed. I thought there were a few of them that were made tonight. Nikki Gullickson, I thought, had a strong line about the debt, and she talked about $43 million coming off the books for the diversion. And I hadn't really thought of that. I hadn't lumped it into that conversation. But to your point, she had studied up. She brought some perspective and background to the discussion. So I thought that was a good land. I thought Scott Brecky landed when he challenged Nikki on the communications department and talked about what kind of size do we need there. Mm-hmm. I thought Aaron Hill landed with his comment about when we're talking about developing property, let's look at the infill and blighted properties and try to figure out how to get something under $200,000. Now, that's hard to do, but I think he's bringing some specificity to that question that I think is really helpful there. I thought I thought Chad Peterson made a really strong point about the consultants. Is that many times they don't know more than we do. You can go to Grok and get 10 answers
exactly
in 5 minutes and then put a QR code on your water bill for pennies. And so I thought that was a practical answer there. On the wards, it seemed like nobody really had a super strong answer there, but definitely I think everybody feels like, okay, it's not a sinister idea, but it is something that adds another layer to government. Do we need that?
And there's a lot of questions there. And again, that's going to come down to the vote of the people.
Yep,
people
absolutely.
are going to decide that one.
I thought Chad had a line that landed about, I want a zero baseline budget every year. We can't have things that are getting spent just because they've always been spent.
That's right. Yeah. That's where his money, his experience sitting on a commission comes in.
Yep. I thought Jeremy, he was really good at the end of the debate where he talked a little bit about, who am I? A young, fresh voice. I'm down there all the time. I'm a military kid. I'm a believer. I thought it was like his best moment when he just said, here's who I am. And if you're just tired of the same quote unquote old people making old time decisions, then maybe give me a chance to jump in there and get that done. I thought Anna was really, I thought her line landed about, what makes me different than everybody else? I've been here 3 times now.
Third
and
time's
I'll
a
probably
charm.
do it again. Yeah. And there was something refreshing about that.
That's good. I mean, that's a fighter. Anna's a fighter. She's like, I'll keep coming back and I'll keep running until I win this thing.
Absolutely.
So that's heart. That's heart. That says that she really cares about the city.
Yep. And I thought Chad had a really succinct answer about how do you improve the local economy, low taxes, and public safety. He made it very simple on those 2 points. I thought that was very effective.
And that's the key. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Too many times you get candidates that get so deep in the weeds, you as a voter going, I have no idea what this person's telling me. Yep. All these candidates tonight, Steve, you got a tough go of it, buddy. You and Fargo, you got a lot of great candidates that are running.
There are good options there for sure, and just fun to have them in. And they've done this. Our recording will be on our website, and so if you missed it or missed part of it or you want to tell somebody about it, hopefully we covered all the major issues here tonight. Fun to hear them talking about where the convention center should go, too.
Exactly. All right. Talk to you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'm back at 2.
Let's do it.